page waiting for it to show up, and it's at the back of the list. I'm like, am I in Japan where I read left to right?
And of course, I would lose. Oh my God, I wanted to play something while we were going live. There we go. Because we are your snow Mexicans. I am the internet.
And let's all appreciate that this was from the better Transformers movie. Like, don't get me wrong, I did appreciate the first remake because of the nostalgia, and I love the voices, and even Shia LaBeouf was still cute enough that I was like, okay, you're still a little shit, but I can forgive you because you're playing that kind of character from the cartoon. So like, I don't really give a shit if you're annoying, because he was annoying too.
You just completely ruined my entire intro. Not that I didn't help with like tripping over my own tongue, but yeah, sorry, I am functional. This is my co-host Genty Maxi. Today's special guest will be Irate Prostate, unfortunately, or fortunately, because I do like the stream that he does today. Mm-hmm. He's doing his DS9 stream with Blind Press and Skep Talk, which I always watch after the stream because I'm such a Star Trek head. But he will be joining us in due time.
Which is nice, because he had me on his stream. So
yeah, I said to him, I said, turnabout's fair play, man. You're going to have my co-host on. You can maybe be on my show a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Plus, he's a sweet Georgia boy. I love their accent, and he's funny, and he's very well-spoken. So I love the guy. He's awesome. So I can't wait to bring him on later.
I went to some really weird places with him. I was pretty stoned. It was good times.
It was a fun stream. It was really fun. It was really funny. Like you guys were playing off each other really well. And, I like that his Sunday stream is just, hey, two people talking. Mm-hmm. Who are you as a person? And it doesn't matter if you have, 100 subs or 100,000 subs, or if you don't even broadcast on YouTube, you're just a consumer of YouTube. He just has you on and just has a casual chat. And that's fun. That's something I don't really see enough of. People want to keep up their personas when they're online, no matter what.
I'm just
and not to mention his. I know I'm shilling hard for him already, and he's not even here. His Scream streams are sometimes just hilarious shit. Just fucking so funny.
See, I know that Satsu is around because Discord never lies. And I'm sitting here like, one of these days we're going to drag him on here kicking and screaming.
And talk food.
Yes.
Speaking of, before the stream, we were talking about food, and we were talking about different cuts of meat and how, society and the food world has kind of shied away from, basically been stripping too much of the fat off of the cuts in supermarkets. Because one of the things that I've been maintaining is that why would you want a super lean cut of beef only to later, when you cook it, either add a new type of fat or not add fat and just burn it and dry it out and not have a very good cut of meat? Mm-hmm. When, the beef fat and the beef meat go together so well. And like you were saying, something like a nice marbled, say, a Kobe beef. Mm-hmm. It's so expensive and so good because it has its own fat in it. And that marble pattern is so delicious. So yeah.
It's also the consistency of it. Like, it's like I said, like I haven't had proper beef in like a long time. Like, and I grew up in a family that grew up on beef because it was cheap, growing up.
Alberta beef. Yeah. It was everywhere.
Super cheap, so, this is a girl who you used to have like, eye steaks or round eye or, T-bones, good sized steaks, a lot of meat for a girl. Actually, it was probably more than I should have had growing up. But, nowadays, like, I'm lucky if I get ground beef or like meatballs or things like that. So like I was saying, we had a nice cut of beef for Christmas. I think it was a ribeye.
Delicious.
So like my dad did it on the grill, and I think he used spices on it or something. But like it was really nice beef. Like even reheated in the oven, like I could tell it was really nice and tender. It had just a nice amount of fat. It didn't have too much. My brother was complaining about the fat, and I was like, just a little bit of fat, Chris, is not going to kill you. A lot of fat is going to kill you.
Yeah, everything in moderation.
And it was just like trying to explain to him that, the pepperoni on your pizza probably had more fat in it.
Oh, it really does. Yeah. Yeah. And probably worse things for you, like preservatives, carcinogens, just stuff you really shouldn't be eating anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from a little treat here and there,
and like I said, yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where I was actually going to horrify you by telling you how I would probably live if I didn't live with my brother, because I'm quite okay with eating as a single person. So like there was a while where I would just get a pre-cooked chicken from Superstore, because they're the same size and you're pretty much paying for the same amount, only you're just not cooking it. And they don't do anything to them. They're just stuck in an oven and they're cooked. They do have some that are like seasoned. Like they have a Spanish one that has like a weird tomato juice sauce on it. It's kind of gross. But just like the plain chicken cooked. And it was like, well, there's a hell of a lot of things I can do with just a cooked chicken, and it saves me from heating up my apartment. So, I would buy one of those. So like a full chicken for me is like 5 days of food, or 6 if I make soup out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And when you do buy a whole, like something like a whole chicken or a whole turkey, something like that, you can purpose each piece for what like you can one day have some breast, the next day you can turn the innards, the neck, everything like that into a good soup. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing more than excuse me, what is with me this week? My talking has just been horrendous. But nothing was better than living on the farm and having an entire pig, an entire chicken, and then sort of planning out, over the next week and a half, what I'm going to do with it. It's not only, being city people now, it's not only cost effective, but it also gives you that freedom of, okay, well, I'm gonna butcher the chicken and freeze, parts of it, maybe half of it, and the other half I'm gonna leave in the fridge for the next few days and just do what I feel like that day with these cuts of meat.
Now, don't get me wrong. I could cook it from scratch too. Like I could take it from raw and probably do other things to make it tastier. But
you mean a whole barbecued chicken kind of thing?
Like it was a whole barbecue chicken. So like I said, it's just, in terms of the cost effectiveness, like I really wasn't gaining any more or less by getting it pre-cooked. The only thing is it's just a plain chicken. But I've worked in grocery store delis before, where like half of what you do with the leftover chickens is make salads with it. You can definitely remake a hell of a lot of meals with just pre-cooked chicken. And so like it just in terms of like saving myself money at home, saving myself money over the long run, that's the kind of thing that I would do. So, I do that, and then I have a couple days where I don't really eat meat. So it's not a religious thing. It's just this belief that like I like to cleanse my body a little bit, like just kind of clean it out.
Yeah.
So like on those days, sometimes I'll just have a measurement of cheese, like how much I'm allowed to have, because it's just my protein replacement, and I'll have like 1 egg just to make sure I'm covering the protein, because I'm not a vegan. I do believe in that B vitamin thing, but it's just keeping that protein to just like, whatever take into account the Canadian Health Guide is weird because it's like old.
Yeah, and they're constantly changing because we're constantly learning new things about diet and how our body's processing not only the meat of it, pardon the pun, but also the changes in farming, like added hormones, added antibiotics, these kinds of things that we're learning are really bad for us. Like eating beef that's been heavily vaccinated with antibiotics is pretty bad because it does get absorbed by our body, and then we integrate that into ourselves, and it's not good, because then when you do get sick, you might have a bigger resistance to the antibiotics, or whatever's affecting you could be less affected by the antibiotics because it's already been in your system. They've kind of grown used to it or built up some resistance to it?
See, that's why I like even when I go back to things like cheese, like and this is where I would bring magic in, because like honest to God, some of my favorite cheeses came from little monks in Quebec. Like some of the monasteries make really nice cheeses. And it was one of those things where like I know you can't trust everybody, but I do trust those guys to like do their cheeses because it's a matter of pride. And history for them, you know. And so like the difference in something that's handcrafted like that as opposed to processed, it's like when you're buying processed cheap cheese, you don't know if there's like wood pulp in it or like just food coloring. Like most orange cheeses is mostly food coloring. We all know that by now.
Yeah. Like your cheddar cheese isn't really that yellow.
No.
Sorry, Americans. And no. I mean, even if I did eat cheese, that stuff would really weird me out.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, I'm not saying that you can't get some that is orange. Like you can, that's aged, that is naturally orange. And it's really good cheese. Like the Dutch do some really nice cheeses. Like a lot of the Goudas are really nice like that. I don't diss on cheddar either. Like a lot of the UK cheddars are really nice. Like yeah,
I mean, when I do eat cheese on its own, I usually convince Elwyn to get like a nice older, more bitter cheese.
Yeah,
because not only is it less dairy for me, but it's also something I actually like the taste of, that sort of bite, that edge that it's got, that sort of fermented just sort of goodness. I'm not a big fan of young cheese.
It's a weird thing to ask, but is it a little bit less harsh on you too? Because you're lactose intolerant, right? So
no, I'm allergic to dairy.
To dairy.
Yeah.
Is it okay? So that wouldn't affect it then. All right, never mind.
Well, the older the cheese, the better, because again, it's more the fermentation. I mean, let's get down to brass tacks. It's bacterial poop.
Yeah.
Than it is dairy product. So that's why I think that my body handles the older cheeses a lot better. But again, I'm not the biggest, gourmet brie. No, thank you. That's going to make me not well. No. But, you know, more for Elwyn to have. So I want to dig into this because this has bothered me. Waking up this morning and seeing that Drunkle Claus, everybody's favorite drunken uncle, somebody I love on YouTube because he's so fucking funny. Even if he is a Brit, you know, those Welsh can have some validity too. I know you're not Welsh, Drunkle, chill out. But yeah, he's one of my YouTube favorites. And God, let's see if I can do this in a somewhat Drunkle voice. Yeah, I've been yeeted from YouTube. No strikes, no reasons given, just a big old fuck you. Oh, except for the opportunity to appeal, which, even if I knew what I was appealing against, is going to fall on deaf ears. At Team YouTube, seriously, sort your shit out, mate. Yeah, I mean, this is so disconcerting. Not only to bigger creators out there like Drunkle, you know, he's got a decent sized following, and even massive YouTubers, they can be hit by this. And as somebody who's a fledgling YouTuber who's kind of just starting out, and you know, we've constantly said, Jen, that we're not doing this for any sort of gains or profit, just sort of as a cathartic release. It's something we enjoy doing. We enjoy having these you know, talks, these just casual back and forths with between us and other people. Hi, Ophelia. Thanks for lurking. And I'm going to scroll down because the first comment reply to Drunkle, which is hilarious, is from a parody account called Honest Team YouTube. Thanks for reaching out. We understand how confusing this is, so we won't even try to explain you why we terminated your channel, but feel free to file the appeal. Our mods can't wait to reject it. Have a lovely 2020, Honest Team YouTube. And I mean, really, that seems like what's going on out there. Yeah, well, you know what, Kyler, you can try to do better. I do an honest, a honest but horrible Drunkle impression. So it's just people, his fan base reaching out. Where else do you do stuff? And obviously, you can find his videos on BitChute, but and he's got other ways to get his content out there. So that's good, but it's really unfortunate that just no strikes, no reasons, just fuck off. Same thing happened to me on Twitter. Basically, no rhyme or reason, no excuse, no justification, just a big old fuck you. You don't deserve to be on our platform, even though we maintain the air of being a speech platform, a free speech platform, even though you're not in practice. So it's kind of it's really disconcerting. It really is. These tech companies are they're taking way too many liberties. They're acting more like fascistic states than they are the platforms that they proclaim to be. They hide behind the Article 230 shield and saying, yeah, we're platforms. Yet they curate anybody and everyone, left, right, center, it doesn't matter, just because they don't like you or because a big enough group might mass flag you.
It's another one of those things where, like I said, like, it's disappointing that DLive is kind of quieted down, and it's understandable. Like, a lot of people don't trust that one either because it's probably no different. BitChute still in the works. As soon as
I can see BitChute getting a massive bump when their streaming service goes public.
I absolutely agree. I think everyone, like, regardless of where you stand at this point, I think we know that YouTube does not stand with the creators. It's clear that they don't care about the creators. Like, it's they've gone corporate. They want corporate dollars, and it's just like, well, you know what? We're gonna do to you exactly the same thing that we did to the cable company. So, goodbye. It's been a long running, especially for the internet period, but they're not the first ones to have a platform. It's just that they were the most convenient, and let's be real, like, they were popular. They are popular. But
yeah, of course.
But
let's not forget what happened to previous platforms like a lesser used one like Vimeo, or one that used to be the biggest powerhouse out there, MySpace. MySpace went the way of the dinosaur because Facebook offered something, or a few things that MySpace didn't. They offered initially exclusivity, which piqued people's interest. How do I get on YouTube? Oh, I keep saying YouTube. Facebook. Oh, well, I have to have somebody who's already on there invite me. And eventually they stripped that away. But like you were just saying, it's the ease of use that sort of got its foothold with the normies. Your grandmas, your grandpas, your boomers, your groomers. Sorry, not groomers. Okay, I've been trying to get the okay groomer saying going. Hopefully it'll catch on for people like Onision and whoever, and I might not personally like them, but Medicare, okay groomer, maybe it'll pick up, maybe not. Maybe it'll just go the way of fetch, and people will just be like, okay, just stop trying to make okay groomer a thing. Okay, I don't care.
Hey, Functional, Rebel's around. Can we let him on?
Yeah, for sure. Does he need a link?
I can give him a link.
Do I need to send it to you, or do you have it already?
I've got it now.
How it works. Okay.
Yep.
Rebel. Yeah, we were playing some games last night. We started off with some Cards of Humanity, and then we moved over to some Quiplash. Quiplash. It was a fun time. A few technical difficulties, but it was a fun time. I always like playing those kinds of games because it can just get so downright delicious.
Yeah, mine was going well, and then I realized that they're asking me questions, and I think the translators, because the game I was playing was Crossroads Inn, I think it's a Dutch game, and I think the translators for the questions, there's got to be something wrong with them, because like you go to answer them and it's like 85 to 15%, but I lose, and it's just like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, Kyler, sorry. I actually had an interesting discussion with somebody on Facebook earlier about that kind of stuff. And how like these streaming services, these, whether they be, you know, NBC, Disney Plus, whatever, the cable companies, NBC, these ones, acting like the cable companies did in having each one having their own streaming service. And it was like, this is why people hated cable. We don't want your prepackaged bullshit. I'm sorry that you want to get all the returns that your streaming programs will get, but somebody beat you to the punch. You know, your Netflixes, your Hulus, they beat you to the punch, and they are more complete because they offer a wide variety of product from a wide variety of sources. That's why people like these streaming services. It's not the content per se. I like Netflix because it's an easy, all-encompassing, I can watch a variety of different things and only pay the one service. I don't care that I'm not going to get The Mandalorian. I'm not going to sign up for Disney Plus for one fucking show. And this is going to be the death of these various streaming services, because just like the cable companies, it's going to be super saturated, and they are going to have complete control over some of their products that we don't really want to partake in. And hey, it's the useless.
How goes it?
Pretty good. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm alive.
That's something that we can all
Appreciate.
Yeah.
A lot. Merry after Christmas, by the way.
Yeah, you too. Hope you had a good one.
Yeah, I stayed home. It was great.
Fucking Jew.
Yeah, that's me. No Christmas for me, but
Yeah.
it was still good. It was still good. Still had some good times, and a nice relaxing week with nothing. Reliving my bachelor life for a week, because obviously my significant other was off with family, their big Christmas family. And,
missed you though.
Well, did you get a nice dreidel at least? You know.
Well, even though I'm a freaking Jew, I don't really celebrate much of anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a big holiday, like even birthdays. It's just kind of like,
yeah,
you slipped out of your mom's vajayjay. Good for you. You want to celebrate that every year? No, I mean, I'm not placing judgment on people who do. It's just a personal thing. For me, I celebrate. If I do celebrate things, it's milestones that I've accomplished. So, for instance, my anniversary is a big one for me because I managed to be lucky enough to find somebody I consider my better half and completes me as a person. And that is something that is very important to me. My birthday, not so much. I'm a year older, big freaking deal.
See, for me, birthdays are important for two ages. When you're young, because you're young and it's exciting and, you know, everyone loves you and there's nothing wrong with that. And when you're old, because when you're old, it's more of just like, I'm appreciative of the fact that you were born.
Yeah.
Because that's what that's what the birthday is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like, it's not that you were just, you know, popped out of your mom's vagina. It's more that like you as the person.
I know.
You know, I know you are, but like especially when you're older, because like I think there's this point where you really question, what did I do? You know. And
But
whether
when
or
you
not
get older, you're kind of like, yes, I finally made it another year.
you know, assuming it feels good or anything like
But there is a point where it just becomes too much. Like, and I hate to bring this up because it's sensitive for him, but you know, just to use it as an example,
Kyler, I hear you.
Yeah, no, that's something I can appreciate, Kyler. But something with like Alex's nan. Something my mother herself went through. She had MS, so she had her own form of dementia. It wasn't, you know, dementia, the disease. It was a different form of similar kind of outcomes in that you forget people, and the last several years of life just weren't as good. And to me, I think that maybe because it's so personal to me with my mother, really sort of hammered back the well, a birthday is really kind of meaningless to me. It's sort of solidified in my own mind that sort of notion that it's not that big of a deal because you can take it too far. And when is it appropriate to continually extend someone's life when they're living in not such great conditions, put it that way? And we'll leave it at that because I don't want to get too deep and too dark into it. Just sort of explain, where my process of thinking goes along, with birthdays. When you're young, it's great because, you want to celebrate, you created this life and it's great. And sure. Birthdays for kids are such a wonderful experience. When you grow up.
At least they should be. I mean, in my opinion, they should be. I realize, the thing is like, it's always different for everybody, and I do respect that difference too. It's not always good for every kid, and that's the other thing too. So sometimes I want to make up for it for the kids that didn't have good birthdays.
Yeah.
But you can't because it's too late.
yeah, totally. Like I said, though, I'm not making judgment calls on anybody who does celebrate, whether they be holidays or events like birthdays. It's just not my bag.
Yeah, no worries. Everyone's different. Like I said, everyone goes through experiences different, and they perceive things differently. So I don't judge you for thinking differently either. It's just I was just pointing out why I thought differently. But
it's great that something like this, a stream like this, can have such diversity.
But for the middle years, like the between 20 and anything, well, actually 21 probably is more accurate for worldwide, but between 20 and say 45, not really, because they put so much pressure on you. Once you hit 30, once you hit 40, all of a sudden, yes, physically you do feel older, but mentally you're still the same, unless you're not doing anything to enlighten your brain. But
like I told you, this year is Elwin and I's, big 4-0s. We're year-wise the same age. For her, it was a big deal, so I made it, a special event for her, and played it up. But when my birthday comes around, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, cool, okay,
yep,
a hug and a kiss, yeah. Go on with the rest of my day. It's just another day like any other.
You become an old man, nobody cares anyway. So
yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Tyler.
Yeah. See, like I said, it's always different for everybody. It's with my grandfather. It was the last 3 years were probably the hardest for my father and my aunt. He's my grandfather's always been sweet to me because I was always a cute little girl. There's never a point where I was ever worried about that. But the relationship between my father and my grandfather was completely different. So the last 3 years is the worst, especially when they're that old.
It can be because my grandfather on my mother's side, he lived to a ripe old age of 88 or 89 or something. No health problems, just one day just stopped working, and
Yeah. Mine died young, so at 54. So.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, both my parents died relatively young-ish, in their early 60s.
I hear you, Kyler. I'm giving myself at least 3 more days.
I say that, but again, I'm looking at the last, say 7 years of my life going, well, I'm going to be kind of an invalid and my health is going to suck anyway, so I might as well just continue smoking.
My health already sucks, so,
Yeah, that too. I'm anyway.
Yeah.
Let's bring up another article. Well, our first article, we briefly talked about the whole drunkle thing. Did you hear about that, Useless?
Yeah, I heard about that. It's sad.
Such stupid shit. I mean, yes, it's worse for me on a personal level because I'm a big fan of his, but it just sucks all around because, as I was saying, it can affect anyone as small as us to anyone as big as PewDiePie and everyone in between. They're not acting ethically at all.
No.
But yeah, let's get to our first story. So, ghost boat containing human remains washes up on Japanese island. Really, really cool kind of series of events.
You know that sound pad, now would be a really great time for a Ghostbusters jingle.
Shut up, Wesley.
So, I mean, if I had one, maybe I gotta get one now. Anyway, it was kind of cool because this is an ancient sailing ship. So this is a piece of flotsam that's either been out in the oceans for a long ass time or was like caught up underwater and was recently broken free or whatnot. But 5 corpses and 2 human heads have been discovered inside a shipwreck off the coast of Japan. Yeah, the 2 human heads really threw me for a loop because it was like, really? There were just 2 severed heads? Like, wonder what was going on there. So the boat washed ashore on Japan's Sado Island, northwest from the mainland, on Friday, and authorities gained access on Saturday because there was a lot of bad weather. They had a hard time getting into it. They stabilized it with ropes so it didn't float away, but they weren't able to get in and see what was going on. The police could not, the heavily damaged vessel had Korean lettering painted on its sides. So they're assuming that it's an old Korean ship from North Korea. Police could not confirm whether the 2 heads belonged to the corpses, but Japanese media said the remains were partially skeletonized. Obviously, they've been in water and in salty air, so that's going to degrade a lot of stuff.
And of course, animals eating them.
Mm-hmm. Aquatic life, microorganisms to bigger organisms like shark. They're gonna have a good feast on that. You can see the map here where it was suspected to come from in North Korea to all the way over to Japan, for those who aren't familiar with the geography of the area. So it was probably stuck somewhere around here in between. And this isn't the first one that they believe hails from North Korea to end up on Japan. The circumstances are a little bit different, but it's not the first time because several quote unquote ghost boats have washed up on Japanese shores. They're generally empty or contain only human remains. During winter, exposure and starvation are likely explanations for crew member deaths. Oh, God. Excuse me. Feeling a little gassy.
That's what makes it so sad, is knowing it's from North Korea. It's just like,
yeah, because they also suspect that in the article here, in previous incidences, there had been speculation that the crew found on the ghost boats are defectors or spies from North Korea, Kim Jong-un's regime. It could also be poverty-stricken citizens just trying to get out, find a better life. That's why they're older ships, because they're harder to detect with things like sonar. So basically it's just this one is particularly interesting because they found just regular old severed heads.
Wow.
Yeah, usually they'll find bodies more or less intact. They might be missing a limb or something, but again, that has to do with wildlife picking at them and whatnot. So I mean,
they didn't know how old the boat is.
They haven't been able to determine it yet because this only happened like yesterday. On when did they say? They said it was like on Friday or Thursday. So yesterday or the day before. And again, because of the difficult weather, they've only now been able to get on board and do a preliminary investigation. But when something like this happens, they have to establish, things like foul play. Was this something that recently happened? What are the circumstances? And, on a personal level, whether or not we can hold these fucking North Korean dictators and his regime accountable for more deaths. Because it matters. At the end of the day, it matters. His body count is growing daily, and eventually he's going to have to answer for these crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they usually, if fishing boats try to get away, they usually sink them in North Korea. So,
yeah, they'll fire rockets and missiles and cannons and try to sink them before they can get away. And it again just speaks to the sheer audacity of the North Korean regime that no, we're not even going to let you try to escape.
Yeah.
Now playing devil's advocate, I can somewhat understand if they are spies or defectors, because those generally have a connotation of whether or not you support or appreciate the regime. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. They want to be able to secure their country and to have spies and defectors and stuff who might compromise that. I understand, even though rational me speaking now, it's fucking a horrible thing to do because you're acting already horribly by subjugating your own people to such horrendous conditions.
It's got to be frustrating, like, all around, because, like, even for South Korea, like, a lot of them are still relatives, you know, like, they don't want to do anything because they're relatives. It's understandable.
Yeah. And I mean, the world is watching, and the world is, I hate it because we're more or less sitting back and just letting this kind of stuff happen. We cover China very frequently. Now, you know, this sort of North Korean whole thing is rearing its ugly head on our show, and we have to talk about it. And it just seems like when you have someone like a Trump who's going there to try to diffuse the situation peacefully, which is something I'm sure most people want, as opposed to military intervention.
And weirdly enough, whatever it was he did worked. You know, at least
to an extent. Yeah.
You know, like, even if it just starts something, it starts something. But the thing is like, you know, the frustration is because we can't do anything. It's not that we don't want to. We can't, because, like, you know, at this point, you don't know if they're holding their own citizens hostage, you know, because, like, the level of brainwashing from the citizens, like, every time you get one who's escaped and they tell you about what it's like growing up there and how you know, how they're forced to think, you know, how they believe they're supposed to live, and then they get out and they realize that no, it's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's why you have what's going on in Hong Kong. I've got some stuff about that we'll talk about later, is that these people are singing the American national anthem. They're waving American flags because they know, you know, the Americans' history in getting away from a tyrannical government that's a separate country altogether. They know the history of getting away from the British government and establishing their own country, and not only establishing it, but establishing it with freedom and the freedom to choose and liberty of the individual is something that they cherish and that they've actually had for quite a while. But now that Britain sort of pulled away, China, you know, doing what they do in, you know, like in Africa and other places in Asia, they want to dig their claws back in Hong Kong and absorb them into their communist state, their authoritarian communist state. And I really wish we would do more, you know, non-militaristic intervention, maybe a defensive intervention if we go the military route, but just showing solidarity with them on the political stage more than we are is going to be a big boon for them, and hopefully they can come through. But yeah, I wanted to show this because not only was this a cool video, but it was also in what we were just talking about with the ship and why, you know, you might have certain body parts devoid of any sort of rest of the person. I'm going to play this video. It's only a minute long. But we can start off, we can see this big fish over here with something in his mouth. There's a swordfish carcass here with smaller sharks eating it. This was captured by NOAA, the North American Oceanic Institute, or whatever it's called, NOAA. Shark feeding frenzy is always kind of cool, always fascinates me. And yeah, it's still an undiscovered frontier when we get really deep into the ocean, what's going on. And we're still learning a lot about what's going on down there. You can see the NOAA vehicle that's witnessing this. And Camry, you see this big motherfucking fish. He just swallows that shark whole. I kind of wonder, like, obviously the shark needs to breathe, but there's got to be a point, because he's a grouper style fish. He doesn't really have teeth. He's not like chewing the shark. He's swallowing it whole. These sharks have teeth like is there ever a point where a shark can like eat his way out or cause the other bigger fish such discomfort that fuck you, CNN, I'm not a shilling for you, where in which it causes so much discomfort to the bigger fish? Does it ever let go?
I think the way they're designed is that there's just enough space for the fish, and that's it. So it smothers it to death.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's how they digest them.
Yeah. I mean, I get those.
I don't doubt that they do, because they do find fossils of fish that are like related to it, but they've died because they've taken on something that was too big, or something that did damage. But like that
choke.
Something they can't digest.
Yeah, like that guy right there is probably fine because he's chewing as he goes. Like he's probably got like 2 or 3 rows of very sharp teeth that are meant to shred it as it goes. So he's puncturing it as it goes down, and then it's going to smother to death as it bleeds out. So like the bleed out is going to cause it to stun, and then it's going to smother in its stomach.
Yeah. I mean, like, I get that, and I get that that's like sort of like the end process. But when he first like bites, like in this specific case, like if the shark, as soon as the grouper, I don't remember what the fish was called. It's in that kind of family.
Yeah.
That he just swallows it whole. Is there a point at which the other animal, in this case the shark, can react and cause enough discomfort for it to say, no, fuck this, I don't want to eat this? It's just something that rattles around in my brain,
To be honest with you,
Kyle, sharks
I
have been
think
found
the
to
only
have
thing
license
we
plates.
can really do with Hong Kong is put as much pressure as we can on China, and the only way we can do that is to vote in the type of people who will. Like, I'm not saying military.
Oh, we can completely choke them by saying, you know what? Because you guys are completely devoid of human rights. Like, look at, they literally have concentration camps for Muslims. And we, as the West, as Canada, the United States, Britain, Australia, whoever, say this is unacceptable. We are no longer doing any trade with you. There's no violence. There's no need for military embargoes or anything like that. We don't have to go the Cuba route. But we can just say, you know what? We, as the government, are going to say, we're not trading with you. We're not importing your products. We're not selling you products. That would be devastating to the point where they'd have to react in some way. China would have to react in some way.
We want a strong China, but we need a good China, though. So.
Yeah. I mean, we
like,
want to convince them
we trade a lot with China.
Yeah, of course. Most of the world does. They're one of the big mega powers of trade these days. So that's where we can hit them. We can hit them in their wallets, and it would force them to either suffer their losses, which would be drastic for them. They wouldn't starve or anything. It would be, really bad for them economically. It would be bad for us economically too. But at the end of the day, we don't need them.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
But it would force them to at least react. And they could say, you know what? We do really want to keep trading with the rest of the consumer world. So maybe we will make some concessions. Hell, maybe we'll even, our ambassadors will sit down and we'll hammer out, what are your demands? What do you want to see from us? Do away with the concentration camps? Okay, maybe that can be something we can bargain. And do it at a bargaining table, not at the end of a rifle or a cannon. You know what I mean? Like, there's peaceful ways we can do this. And since we're talking about Hong Kong, this was something that was kind of really kind of cool to me in sort of a non-violent virtual representation of what's going on. Because obviously you have people who live in China who are pro-Chinese government. The citizenry, because they live in a totalitarian kind of state with state-run media and all that, not to the extreme ways that North Korea is, but they are still very extreme. And the people, the population at large, do believe what the state is doing is justified and right. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I'm getting a little dry mouth. So we have Grand Theft Auto 5 becoming latest battleground of Hong Kong protests. This was really kind of cool. Oh, thank you, darling. She brought me an ice cold vanilla Coke. We don't get a lot of the flavored Coke up here. It's unfortunate. And when you do, it's more of a specialized item. Say hi to chat. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Say hello. I'll read a little bit of it. Popular online video game Grand Theft Auto 5 has become a battleground between protesters in the semi-autonomous Chinese city, Hong Kong, and their rival players in mainland China. The online duel began after Hong Kong players discovered that their in-game avatars could dress like protesters, wearing the black clothing, the gas masks, yellow safety helmets. They shared the discovery last week on LIHKG, a social media platform and discussion forum similar to Reddit that is popular in Hong Kong. And just to deviate from the article, these places like China, like Hong Kong, India, they have their own social media platforms like Twitter, like Reddit, etc., that can be controlled by their governments.
Yeah.
Hong Kong has been rocked by anti-government protests for more than 6 months, with escalating violence and anger on all sides. The demonstrations began in June, blah, 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 blah. While most video games keep their player busy on a predetermined course of action, open-world games allowed for greater freedom to explore. And it didn't take long for Hong Kong gamers to begin mimicking the real-life actions of hardcore protesters by throwing petrol bombs, vandalizing train stations, and tagging police within the open world of GTA 5. Yes, this shit is happening in real life, but at least this is a virtual world, so you're somewhat getting your aggressions out easy. Hey, RJ, thanks for coming.
Hey, RJ.
Nice to see you. To get their aggressions out and do it in a virtual space to not actually physically harm people. However, mainland Chinese gamers were quick to notice, and several of them subsequently took to the Twitter-like social media platform Weibo to call on other players to defeat their Hong Kong rivals. So it did get a little heated at points, using a derogatory term adopted by some police officers to refer to protesters. One Weibo user posted cockroaches expressing their desire to kill GTA and beat us. The war in this game may become more fierce and fierce. Are you ready? Other Weibo users responded by posting screenshots of their characters dressed as riot police and wielding guns, with the post caption, "Ready." So they had some battles. They had some, which, if you're going to have these just fundamental clashes of culture, the online video game space is where to do it. It's a peaceful, not peaceful, but it's a victimless, harmless for most parts way to get out their differences and their aggressions without needing to resort to real life violence, even though I will maintain that some real life violence is necessary at points.
Well, for freedom, sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah. And, there's that old cliche of one man's freedom fighter is another's terrorist.
Yeah.
It's not me as an outsider to say who is in the right. That is for us as a global society and as the human race to come together and talk about and say, you know what? China's in the wrong here. Yes, that's my personal opinion, but it also seems to be a more widely acceptable one, again, because of some of the transgressions they have been committing as far as human rights.
Well, the funny thing is, you think Antifa would be on their side, but they're not.
Yeah.
So
it's something that, we and Antifa can actually agree upon.
yeah.
Jack Thompson. Why do I know that name? The artist? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of a cute story in the shitstorm that is Hong Kong right now, because we are taking on this channel, we are taking notice, we are trying to keep up with it and sort of talk about the little events that are going on here and there, as well as
support the best we can, because I can't send you money, guys, because I don't have that.
No, but we can try to use our voices to talk about it, and this is how problems are solved, by talking, not by just resorting to violence all the time. Is there a train going by?
Choo choo.
No, it's a helicopter.
Oh, helicopter.
Okay. Well, I can't
They're
make
coming
that
for
noise.
you, useless.
Sorry. That's a problem with living in California.
Cali.
Yeah.
California.
I vaguely remember that something about that, RJ, but I don't like. It's not very clear and present in my mind. It was probably something I chucked away. I think this is my last China story. It's weird.
Build the world.
It's really weird. This is a weird sort of a weird story. So China ends forced labor for sex workers. The title is a little misleading. China's is to end a punishment system for prostitution that allowed police to hold sex workers and their clients in custody for up to 2 years at so-called education centers. Oh, education centers.
Well, that meant the other way. They're forced into sex work.
Yeah, that's what makes it so weird. Is like, okay, we'll start at the beginning. Because of destitution, because of certain factors, we'll gloss over them, things like gangs and whatnot. They're forced into that line of work for a lot of them. Some of them might even be kidnapped and groomed to be in this kind of work.
Yeah.
I was about ready to call you out there, RJ, because I'm like, I don't know what you think I have to do with sex workers, because I don't do that shit. But you retracted that, so.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the other kind of weird part of this story, as we delve into the article, detainees were forced to work, allegedly making toys and household goods. The detention system will come to an end on the 29th of December. Those still in custody will be released, according to state media. So prostitution is illegal there. I think that is well within their rights. Personally, on a personal level, I'm okay for it. As long as it's
somewhat regulated, so it's safe.
Exactly. Sorry, I was having a little bit of a cough there.
Yeah.
Regulated in a way to keep the workers safe.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest problem I find. Is not only the safe in health concerns, but safe from violence, or as safe as you can make them. Because violence in sex work trades is very predominant and is very serious, and it causes a lot of unnecessary, not only strife, but really does, quite a few times lead to end of life for a lot of these women. And that's just a tragedy because, again, in most cases, they're more or less sort of corralled into that line of work. It wouldn't be their first choice of vocation. The tricky part is that here in the Western world, we do use some of our prisons to produce goods. Some of them are less than ethical and don't do it for any substantial, if any, wages. It's really a slave wage. So
it's like $2 an hour. So
yeah, and that disturbs me because yes, if it is a work release program, if it is a keeping your idle hands are the devil's play toy, kind of, keeping people busy while they're serving their sentences, great, but they should still be able to work up enough so that it doesn't just all get bled out in the commissary or through drugs or whatever they want to spend their money on, but also to sort of save up a nest egg for when they get released. They'll have something to be able to start anew in society and give them that leg up they need to beat the cyclical system that they found themselves in. Yeah, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have a problem with it, Kyler, because I would never need to rely on it. Or even need to use it. I never have. I probably never would, even regardless of my current relationship status. It's just not something that was really my bag. I've always been a more emotionally attached person when I enjoy that kind of activity.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm not going to shame anyone, and I'm not going to judge someone poorly because that they have. I've had friends that have used hookers, or who've, it doesn't even have to be hookers. It could be a private dancer for a bachelor party who's taking off her clothes and maybe doing sex acts with herself, or even online with the digital world. You have e-thoughts, colloquially known. From anywhere from, suggestive ASMR users who are, kosher on a platform like YouTube, to the full-on cam show girls. I respect the hustle.
Oh yeah, if you can make money at doing what you got, do it.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of women have in advantage over men, is the fact that you are a relatively good-looking woman, and you can use that, at least for several years, to make some money. And maybe, I can't tell you how many stories I've read of, women who have done that, and when they're, they get into, their early 30s, their looks start depreciating, not going, but depreciating, that they start up some sort of business. Whether it be, a bakery front or some sort of home business or whatever, they use that money smartly.
If done right, like there's quite a numerous amount of girls that, like, if done right, they put it towards their schooling. They invest it. It's not like they're all stupid. Some of them are very well aware that they could go away with, like, several $100s a night if they work it, but don't cross the line too.
And don't just piss your money away on fucking parties and drugs and booze and all that shit. Use it smartly. I'm not saying don't go out and party. Yeah. You're young, have fun. You're obviously very free with your body, so that sort of says something about you as a person. Enjoy your life, but don't just piss everything away.
For the record, I'm not talking personally. I was never that girl. That would require that I'd be like a hell of a lot thinner than I was back in that day.
No, but I know I've known enough women who have done that kind of work, and some have made poor decisions, and some have made good decisions. But thankfully, that's the West for you. You have the freedom to make these bad decisions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like I'm saying, I do know women who've done the same thing. Like. Especially if you were dumb and you were young, like I knew girls who'd gotten pregnant and they were like, well, shit, I need to be able to support my kid, and daddy's not around. And yes, they're white. It does happen there too. So they supported themselves, their kid, and went back to school and got a better job, a more consistent job.
Like I said, you got to respect the hustle. Because that's what it is. They're just trying to make their way. And if that's an avenue that they can take to eventually build on top of, yeah, great, do it.
But like I said, it's just like I also knew girls who made poor life decisions. And it was just like, anytime you're using your body in that manner, it's not like Europe where you do testings all the time. So my judgment's more like, okay, well, you're putting your life at risk. So...
Well, you do that with almost any job these days, so.
Yeah.
True. It's just the things you get from sex is really gross too, right? Like, I mean, I'm not saying wounds don't hurt and they're not gross too, but like, we're not gonna word that one though. I'll be kind to Functional.
I appreciate it, especially since I'm transitioning to be a drunken uncle. On that note, shall we go with transitioning to be drunken uncle, or continue on with women in success? We'll let Rebel choose.
What was the second one again?
Women and success, or transitioning to be a drunken uncle.
Let's do the success one. Success.
Okay.
That's what that's about.
Okay. Dun dun dun.
When did mine kick it?
I know, right?
So in something that really bothers me, because it has to do a lot with the court of public opinion rather than proper jurisprudence, is the what gave this woman, Whitney Wolf Herd, her notoriety in the public stage was that she sued Tinder because she was an employee over some social justice bullshit. Not going to get too much into it. Excuse me. Because I want to talk to, she was fortunate to be able to get this startup, but not through hard work, through defrauding the system, basically, in my opinion. She founded Bumble. And she's the CEO now at 30 years old. She's the CEO of a $30 billion dating empire. And see, the problem I have with Bumble is the fact that it is the, well, I'll just read the first little bit from the article because it has a lot to do with my problems. So Bumble founder Whitney Wolf Herd is used to bucking traditions. Yeah, okay. No, you're not. It's CNN, so of course they're going to be we've got to elevate women's kind of thing. They won't say a negative thing about her because women's. When she launched the female-focused dating app in 2014, which requires women searching for heterosexual matches to make the first move, some were skeptical it would take off. But Wolf Herd's vision, the app that actually would empower women to make their own choices rather than burden them with it, caught on already. Bumble has become a household name and has grown to include services beyond dating, including professional networking, finding new friends. Last year, Wolf Herd made a strategic decision to push Bumble into India, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, like you were saying, Rebel, that's total bullshit. Any man who's ever used a dating app will tell you, you are a dime a dozen piece of trash. Doesn't matter if you're the best guy in the world, you are a second-class citizen on these sites. And you know, it is a bit of a double-edged sword because women are inundated. You know, we'll say, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example. I'm not making any judgments about people, but say any woman who on the scale is like a 4 to a 10 will be inundated with messages from tens, if not hundreds of men looking to
have to.
I hate to break it to her, but that is every
That's every dating site.
Every site. There's nothing new about that. Like even it was actually uncomfortable. That's why I don't do them anymore.
Right. Well, guys have to do that, or they never get anything.
Hey, random internet box. Bjorn.
Yeah.
Random Goon TC. Oh, did we just get raided by people? Hi, people. I missed out all these hellos because we were talking so fervently.
My YouTube is behind.
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
But you know, and then like for her to, let's just say, unethically get her fortune to build another fortune, is also based on false premises. Like she did, it might be her one niche that women have to engage the men, but it's not like this doesn't happen anyway. On Plenty of Fish, on OkCupid, on Tinder, it's not like the ball is complete. No, the ball isn't just in the women's court. They own the fucking court. They own the stadium. They own the city that the court is in. They have all the power. And we see that with news stories of like people who make the fake profiles of like, oh yes, I'm a reformed pedophile, but they use a picture of a guy who, you know, would probably be an 8 or a 9, a strong, hard, 9, but they don't care because it shows that, you know, women are can be just as what's the word?
Piggish?
Well, you know what I mean.
Sexist.
Not sexist, but you know, you judge a book by its cover. The looks matter more than anything else.
Misandrist.
Sure.
Well, it's hard for me to date because, you know, being a cripple, women don't like cripples. So.
See, for me, I just didn't think.
Yeah.
It is harder. It is hard.
Yeah.
I just didn't think that I deserved that much attention. Like, you know, like it's not like I had a huge flush, but like there was so many guys, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it in that way online. It was more like if the setup was more like you know how Japan has those like little party things where you go and they have like a set amount of people and you just kind of meet everybody for like 15 minutes to talk.
Yeah, like speed dating.
Yeah, I think something like that would have been better, in all honesty. Like something where like they set it up online and you go and you meet people like that, because like it's a little bit more personal that way, and you don't feel so judgy when you're meeting somebody. It's a little bit more like, okay, well, at least I know who this person is, and like maybe you go back to the next one and you talk a little bit more.
I would if I had any suggestion to people in today's dating age, I would say yes, use these apps if it's something you want to do, but as a supplement to trying to interact with people in society. Don't use it as your only means of meeting women, but take the chance. Rejection isn't as bad as you might think, even though the media might play it off. Going out and getting rejected, not the end of the world. You talk to someone and they're like, okay, no, as long as they're okay, deal with it in a respectful manner, because you're still a human being. And they say, no, thank you. Then, you move on with your day. Sure, it sucks, but oh, well, there's going to be, and, sure, I was on a lot of these dating sites, and I still went out and still talked to women, still had women approach me on the street, and just had conversations, and just don't forget to be a part of society. You can use these apps, but
my brother met his wife on eHarmony, so it's not totally horrible.
One thing that Monkey said that's true, and another thing that he said that was also true that I will say.
So we have a prostate, prostate in the side chat.
Oh, is he here?
Yeah.
Okay, bring him in, and then I will.
Yay, I'm here.
Hi.
Yay.
I was going to say two things that I agree with Monkey on in terms of things that men can do that approaches a woman that's actually pretty good. So when you talk to her, don't talk to her like you just want to have sex with her. Like, don't make it that obvious. Hi, Cryptic. Don't make it that obvious, because that's just creepy all around. Like, if she does that to you, it's just as equally creepy. Like,
why did you read the profile and
Yeah. And then the second is don't be afraid to try again. Like, sometimes, it's just, sometimes it's the approach, sometimes it's the timing, sometimes you just have to work on the joke maybe a little bit. But like
a whole plethora of things. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, because some girls are shy, some girls are like, will hesitate, like for me, I am just oblivious. It's not that I don't recognize that somebody would, you really have to spell it out for me, because I don't see myself as the person of interest, because I'm usually not. At least in my experience, I usually haven't been. So when it has happened, it's just been like, well, why didn't you say something? Like, sometimes you just have to say something.
Be blunt.
But like, these were also the same guys that didn't like offer to hang out with me or like, do stuff with me outside. Sometimes just starting something, like, it doesn't have to cost money. Actually, I don't actually like the spending money thing, because that makes me feel guilty. For me, it's more just like spending time. So like, if it was just to go see a movie at your house or something, well, maybe not, but like, go see a movie where you both pay for yourself. Just little,
a less formal date kind of thing. So you're just using that time to get to know each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
But since he's shown up, Irate, how was your stream, buddy? I can't wait to watch it later.
It was fun. We were talking about Hammer's 3 picks this week.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot. What were the 3 picks again?
You would ask me that. The Visitor. Let's see, The Visitor.
That's a good one.
Fuck. Hold on a second. Just give me a second.
I mean, I'm going to watch it later, so I just thought I'd put you on the spot for a minute, because
I'd just taken my notes and shit all down.
I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and that's why when you guys talk about DS9, even though it's a live stream that happens to go on at the same time as our Saturday show, I always go back and watch it, because I appreciate what you guys have to say about the show. And I watch DS9 like probably 4 times a year, like the entire series.
Right.
Just mostly as background noise or as I'm falling asleep or whatever. But it was one of my favorite Trek shows.
Yeah, it's really the way it's the way that the narrative is written, the richness of the characters, there's just so many places that it can and does go. It's probably my favorite of all of them. And the older I get, I love the TOS and I love Next Generation. And I like parts of Voyager and I like Enterprise. I really like the last year of Enterprise.
I didn't watch Enterprise when it was broadcasted live on TV, but I went back a couple of years later and I'm like, why did I never watch this show?
Yeah, the last season kind of sucked though. Enterprise.
Yeah, because they were rushed out of production.
Yeah. But when Manny Cotto took it over, you could tell there was a difference in the storytelling, and I liked it.
Yeah, the whole Xindi thing, the birth of the Federation, setting up the political ties between the Tellarites and the Andorians, races that we knew were a part of the birth of the Federation, but we didn't really get an understanding outside of, our Spocks, our Daxes, our Kiras, not Kiras, I'm sorry. Betazoid, Troy's. Outside of casual mentions throughout the shows, we got a more in-depth of some of these races. Right. And it's really cool.
Yeah, especially seeing the Vulcans adjusting to the humans' foul smell. I always thought that was funny.
Calling us pink skins all the time.
Yeah. The skinny, busty Vulcan chick is like, what? Okay. But, anyway. All right, the Children of Time and Valiant were the other two. They were all good episodes. It was, it was good stuff.
Can't wait.
So, and BP will post her choices on Wednesday. For next week, we start with Voyager.
Oh, okay, cool. You guys are shifting over to some Voyager stuff. Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
I actually kind of like Voyager stuff.
We can always adjust the time of the stream too if you want.
I was thinking of it, but it's something we talked about last week, but I never really got around to talking to you about, Jen.
I wouldn't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? It's do what you do.
Yeah, but you know me, Prostate. I'm really active in chat, so when it's live, I like interacting, and when it's over said and done, I'm watching, listening to what you guys are saying and everything. But I kind of feel
we technically overlap a couple people at this time anyway. So like if we adjusted it even just a little bit, like an hour or so. It's also for guests, it's one of those things where when we started on Saturday, I didn't realize how many people streamed, when we started, and that's usually kind of how it goes. I think that's really how it goes. And I don't mind adjusting for it because sometimes I want to watch your guys' streams too. And at the same time, it means that I can pull you on for a guest. So like stuff like that, I'm not opposed to. It's just like the times that we picked were kind of like, like the Tuesday, Thursdays. Well, it's after Bloodwing stream because I'm loyal to Bloodwing. He's our papa. So I got to watch him when he's available. But like sometimes he's not. So I just wanted to cover like, it's that in between getting a little bit of the UK, a little bit of the Aussies and everybody's central and everybody has different time zones. So it's so hard to juggle.
It is. There's a lot of pieces, man. There's a lot going on here.
So many things. Like honestly, if I could just have like a little wall of clocks with like, okay, this is this area and this is this area and this area, and not like like time zones of where people live, just basic area.
Yeah.
Is there a link for the watch site so I can pop that up and give you a like?
To watch the stream, sure.
Please.
I will copy and share that for you.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm gonna give and share it myself.
Awesome, thank you. Kyler, that was actually the pinnacle moment when I said I'm going to get behind this show and I'm going to love this show. Was that time where they had Q in the first season and he just punched him and he's like, "You hit me. Picard never hit me." Well,
I'm not Picard.
And I was like, "Fuck yeah, we're going good with this show because it's and I don't want to delve too much into Star Trek talk, but it happens whenever you bring up Star Trek, and I do it to myself. It shows you that this isn't going to be a show based around the Starfleet life.
No
It's going to show you what other cultures, other races, from the Ferengi, the
Hold on.
Bajorans.
Is the name of this show really Snow Mexicans? Is this what you guys are calling this thing?
Yeah.
I fucking love it. I fucking love it. That's awesome. So I'm sorry. I just.
That's the name of my channel too. I'm waiting for that one to eventually go, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep it until BitChute finishes doing something.
Snow Mexican. I like it.
Like even with Drunkle, like it's not just Drunkle, it's like everybody. Like they're poking their fingers into everybody's pie, and honestly, at this point, you can just tell that they're not really for the YouTubers. They're not really for us.
They don't give a shit, man.
They really don't.
No.
They don't give a fuck. It's really like now we're just an annoyance.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want to raise the platform so they can fucking clone Netflix and put out, shitty woke shit, lame ass stuff. When, Netflix used to be good. And nobody's, going to take up that good mantle anymore. So.
That's just it. Like I've just decided, like, I'm going to take advantage of what's left of YouTube, and I'm just going to go to other platforms because, you know what? At least it's something for now.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get people organized though. It's like DLive versus Twitch, and it's just trying to figure out how to make all that work. I keep meaning to at least try Twitch. Like I don't hate Twitch. It's just I don't really care for the platform because they've had their own issues too. And DLive is a sister company from Twitch, so it's like I'm not really picking that much of a better choice. But at the same time, the more platforms, the better. Well, BitChute keeps hinting that they're going to start streaming abilities, and I think you'll get like some serious migration. If that ever happened, right?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier because you have a lot of the bigger names who want to get make that transition to a more secure platform, and a lot of fledgling people like us and everybody in between who are kind of looking at them, going, if it can happen to them, it can happen to us. We need to go somewhere that actually appreciates the creators that have made them or will make them the powerhouse that they are.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that, when it started out, YouTube was more like produced videos, right? Where people will be, doing in-home production and then uploading stuff. And then streaming, started getting that, and it became more of a radio type environment. And I think that's why it's kind of a hybrid. I love the visual aspect because I love to play with shit anyway. And then there's the podcast connection there too. So I think there's a way to tie all this stuff together because I think that there's so much good stuff out there, and there is an audience, whether you know it or not. If you're into it and you're really doing what is in your heart, there's an audience out there for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just with YouTube especially, it's hard to find them because they tend to bury it. Like
exactly.
Doof and I were having a conversation late last night, and looking through our feeds, and he's like, "Why am I getting shit for like ASMR and all this shit I've never even watched before?" And I'm like, yeah, I get the same thing too. I get like Vivo, I get A&E, I get NBC, and like maybe every once in a while I'll look at an NBC video because somebody linked it to there. But like,
you watch it once, forever.
I'm looking at my feed right now. Lily Pons, I've heard the name. It has 3.1 million views, but it's like I've never watched one of their videos. Why is it in my recommended feed? Fuck off. I'm into gaming. I'm into the NHL. I'm into weird shit, pet videos. Why are you? Half of my videos are that stuff. The other half is all this stuff that I don't care about. I don't care about A&E and NBC and KBS and all these TV shows. If I want TV, I would have gotten TV. I appreciate that you want to be on the platform, but stop recommending shit that has nothing to do with me. You apparently have the most sophisticated algorithm, and it's quite apparent that you're modifying that algorithm to suit your needs, not my needs as either a consumer or a creator.
Yeah,
It's
it'd be nice for my
even
videos to be
worse
recommended.
if you just like one creator in one genre, per genre. You know, because like there's this one fellow that I watch who does hair reviews, and he basically watches people mangle their hair at home. And he's a hairdresser, so like he'll just have like,
What is it, like reactionary? Like,
it's reactionary,
okay.
and you know he'll talk through what it is that they did wrong, and you know what it is that they could do at home to maybe fix it or do it better. But he's usually encouraging you to just go see a hairdresser because it's easier. But it's just he's funny. Like, I just like his approach. I liked his personality. He's really friendly. But I don't want to watch all of them. I don't want to watch everyone who does makeup reviews or hair reviews or whatever reviews. Like, I don't care about any of them. It was just this one guy that was like, okay, that was kind of funny. You know, I watched these girls bleach their hair until it fell out. I was like, that's really funny, you know, like, it's horrifying, but you know, a life lesson that I will never have to partake in, you know.
And hold up for a second. We've got a donation. Thank you, Elwin. $5 message just because. Thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate it. Sorry, I don't normally have my Streamlabs open because it's just like, I just want to talk on stuff. So she's got to like punch me in the butt and be like, hey, check your Streamlabs.
Dude.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry, I derailed things a little bit there.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was like, what?
And, I was trying to get StreamYards to go through OBS so that when I do get notifications, it'll play the stuff. But instead, I have to use the soundboard and, you know.
Come on, man.
YouTube, damn it.
Yes.
So let's go to our next article. It's something that actually has become sort of pretty big news in my own backyard. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this transgender person who was murdered the other day, or sorry, suspected of being murdered.
Is that the activist you mentioned?
So when this story first broke, I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday, they had no idea if she was an activist or anything like that. Today's article, they're saying, yes, she is an activist who raised awareness, was really big in the alphabet soup community, and, you know, moment of picture because it's a loss of life, whether or not, however you feel about transgenderism and these people, it is still a loss of life, and it is a tragedy. I don't like seeing anybody needlessly killed, except for maybe, you know, Kim Jong-un, but in that case, it's not really needless. It's anyway. I'm diverting from the topic. So it does turn out that yes, she was an activist, and that a 29-year-old Colin Harnack has been charged with second-degree murder. So there is some suspicion of foul play. We'll see how it plays out in the courts with the evidence. Initially, it was reported that they don't know why this guy hit her in the head. She went to hospital and later died from the injury. But why all of this happened? Because a lot of instances in this case of such severe violence have to do with the freak out on the part of the transgressor, the aggressor, in a sexual manner. So in some cases, you know, I keep wanting to say transvestite. I'm sorry. The transgender person, for lack of a better word, and again, like, I'm stumbling over my words because I don't want to offend anyone. It's not my intent to offend anyone. It's just I'm not up to date on all the parlances because I don't care. It's not something
Fuck them.
my life. I don't care.
Right.
How you identify whatever, I don't care.
You're not responsible for somebody else's fifis, bro.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You're not somebody's emotional slave.
It's like, grow the fuck up, people.
Yeah. So if I misspeak a word or something, get over yourself. You
Go for it.
You know, whatever. But like I was saying, in a lot of cases, that has to do a lot, you know, in times of a sexual encounter, the person is quote unquote passing, so that and let's not pull our punches. In most cases, the aggressor is a male who will then find out that this person isn't, a biological female, will freak out and react in an unethical manner and act violently. So
they take a trap home, they see the cock and they flip out.
They flip out and they harm the person. Or
right.
In a lot of cases where
violently.
They die. They kill the person. So it'll be again not interesting, but I would like to see how this plays out. Was that the case? And if there was some sort of, not entirely his, I'm tripping over my words here, not really fault, but sometimes as human beings, we're slave to our emotions. I could never put myself into that kind of a scenario and say with certainty how I would react. Because to me, in my personal opinion, a trap, someone who knowingly goes out.
Well, it would depend on how nice her tits look, now, wouldn't it?
That is rape. You are acting like a rapist because you are intentionally knowing that this person is heterosexual, wants to go home with a woman, and you are literally trapping them into a situation where they're not.
They don't call them traps for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, at the very least, I could understand if a man slapped, absolutely. It would be an automatic response. Just on that level, like that level of respect where it's just like, I had my hopes up on this and you couldn't just be honest with me about it, At the very least, we could have walked away as friends. And I know maybe that's not what they're interested in. And that's fine too. But I would rather leave a relationship safe and the person unharmed with honesty. And I would wish them well.
Yeah.
And and I would look out for somebody who might be interested in them, because I'm a good person like that. But they do have to understand that there is a level of honesty that it just starts there. And I know it's hard and not everyone's going to accept you and not everyone's going to be interested in what you present. But there's certainly dudes out there who are into it. So
I mean, that to me is the basis, that honesty, that openness, just being yourself and being forthwith with important information like that, especially if you're getting to, sexual territory. That's the basis of any relationship, be it a normal relationship, and normal is not a bad word, it just means the norm, or it be something on an outlier that is, transgender relationships. It's going to be harder for those types of people because they've gone under such a dramatic changing in how they present. Yeah, it's going to be harder on you. Sorry. You know what? Me as a black person in a predominantly white community, it might be a little bit harder because you're the other. If a white person in a brown community, you're going to be the other. That's just the nature of the beast. Things are going to be a little bit more difficult.
Life isn't fair.
No, it's not fair. You just got to roll with the punches and do your best. And anytime you get knocked down, get right back up.
Yep.
That's how you win at life. You get back up every time.
And I mean, as probably hard as it is for me to say, because it is easy for me to say because I am a straight woman, but that honesty goes a lot further with people. Like I said, as a regular, ordinary person, at least if you told me the truth, I could at least keep an eye out for somebody who might be interested in you. Mm-hmm. That's more than what you would get before. That's a hell of a lot more than what you would get before, because the minute I learned that you're lying to me, that's it.
In today's social justice-y sort of media, some of the wording in the article really bugged me when they say something, the suspect is not a known member of the LGBT community. What
the fuck does that mean?
Matter? It doesn't matter what communities they're parts of and why they're pressing home so hard that this person was fighting for trans rights and all this. It's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The fact that they're constantly saying that, there's so much violence in the transgender community. You know what? There's so much violence in the community as a whole. We live in the West in the safest part to date, but there's still violence out there. There's still bad things that happen to people.
Oh yeah,
we're on the right track. We're reducing harm all across the board. So the media wants to keep projecting these things as, oh my God, they're such plagues on society. It's ever rampant. Well, no, we keep doing better every year. We're doing better.
Well, nobody watches good news. They don't care about the bad news.
Well,
Well,
not yet. We
Bleeds, it
have some
bleeds.
good news every once in a while, which is good.
Yeah.
We kind of come from a generation that has that, though. Like, I mean, when you really think about it as the millennials, and I know that's not really you, Prostate, but like if you really think about the news, it was always like hyped up for the violence.
Well, yeah, it started with Gen Z with the 24-hour news cycle from CNN.
Like it was always hyped up, like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this, and it's just never really stopped. And now it's just it's calmed down because people are just like, you know what, we just don't have the energy to keep doing this kind of crap. In all honesty, I think that's what makes the whole SJW thing so depressing, is like most people are just like, you know what, the whole racism thing, I'm not saying it's not still there, because it probably is, but most people are too lazy to really carry it out anymore.
And it's more on an individual level as opposed to a societal issue.
Yeah.
Look, walk up to any random Joe on the street in your town or city. They probably won't care if somebody's black, white, Filipino, Hispanic. It doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is if they're a good person, if they're a nice person, Yeah,
it's just how it is. Also, for the record, most of my Asian jokes come from Cryptic.
And that's the other thing too. Those SJWs, to keep using the parlance, they are so humorless. Like I keep saying, my family directly affected by the Holocaust, and I will be the first person to stand up and say Holocaust jokes are okay, Jew jokes are okay. I don't care. They're jokes.
Wait, you're a Jew? Oh, I'm out. No, just kidding.
For the record, most of my Jew jokes have come from Jewish people too. And that is actually the
Holy
truth.
shit.
It's the honest to God truth. It's not
Yeah.
like it's just the fact. It's like it's the same.
Well,
with,
where do all those? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. Anyway, I was gonna say where do all the N-word jokes come from?
Oh, I don't really care. I mean, I know that I can read a room, but I don't really care. Look, everybody, 1 second. Nigger.
Oh shit!
Did somebody die because
Snap.
I said that? No, but it's not like and this was the differentiation we made on the last stream, Jen, between, joking in those sort of racialized manners and being offensive. I'm not going to walk up to somebody on the street and say, nigger, because that's the intent of antagonizing and using words as a weapon. I don't want to do that. But if my friends come up to me, and I've had this in my experiences, I was living in New York City for a bit. All my friends there were black, and they would, and there was an instance where friends of friends came up and said, "Yo, what's this honky doing up in our neighborhood? Yo, what the fuck?" And they're like, "Yo, back up, nigga. This is our friend. He's nigga. You." And I'm like, okay, so can I say nigga? And they all look at me like, you don't fucking dare. But that was in public. In when we're sitting around gaming or listening to tunes or whatever, it was no big deal. I'd be sitting there bopping my head with them, repeating lyrics. And yeah, a lot of the lyrics we listened to were a lot of racial epithets. Nobody gave a shit because it's all fun and games. And either the words have power or they don't. And that's why I respect the hip hop industry, because they've done a lot to take that power historically away and turn it into something that doesn't really matter and shouldn't matter. Like someone wants to call me a kike, I don't care. I love Keikel. Drunken Uncle's character Keikel, I love him. He's fucking hilarious.
Keikel. God.
Yeah, and I mean, for those that don't know, the word kike is basically our N-word,
Right.
But, you look at most, because it hasn't been hyped up in the media, you look at most Jewish communities or whatever, or Jewish people, they'll be like, yeah, so what? I don't care. Your words are meaningless to me. Now, if you're going to start throwing fists and calling me a kike, then we got issue, because that's violence. Right. Anyway, we're getting off into it.
It just occurred to me that, like, in South Park, the second brother's name is Ike, and I was just like, wait a minute, is it supposed to? Is it? Yeah, they did that on purpose.
They did.
Exactly, Elwin. At the end of the day, it's just words. You can turn and walk away.
I used to be called white bread back in high school. So.
I mean, my skin is very pale, very white, but I'm half Middle Eastern. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you're just a honky." I'm like, "Well, half honky, yeah, sure." But I mean, what am I talking to you as? Am I talking to you as functional, as a person, or am I talking to you as a white boy, or am I talking to you as a Middle Eastern person? And then that's when they kind of, social justice-y types, they'll kind of tighten up and be like, "Oh, well, I didn't know." Well, no, because you didn't even bother to care.
Yeah, no shit.
And that is exactly the problem, is that they are acting like...
See, there's a lot of ethnic Lebanese, like generations of where I live. And, you couldn't tell by, visually. And they're all Christian, too, so...
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's just because somebody's from the Middle East, and technically...
Here's the thing. They are lumping Middle Eastern in with brown people. The same way they lump in white people with white people and black people with black people. And it's one of those things where it's like you really kind of understand people when you stop looking at their skin and you start looking at their facial structure.
Well, see, I mean, as Western society has sort of propagated, we don't care about your genetic makeup. We care about your values, not only as an individual, but maybe the culture you come from. And that's how we base certain cultures. That's how we sort of prejudge those cultures, is because they're a culture at large. But we'll still take you as an individual at your value.
Especially in America and Canada, it's like that. We're all melting pot.
It's just honestly, I honestly couldn't have a conversation with somebody who keeps going on about their skin, because at a certain point, it's just, at what point do I get to tell you that, like, you're not just your skin? Because you can't do that without being labeled as a racist. Like that's what they say in all these little group meets with their little, sociology professor wenches or whatever. And you're just sitting there like, at what point can I just tell you that, like, everything that you've talked about is complete nonsense? Like, you could just go down the street and do everything that you wanted to do if you would just stop whining about stuff that nobody gives a shit about.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm going to dive a little change of scenery. I'm going to dive into now that we've got both of our guests on, a little bit of the Canadiana stuff. So obviously...
he's fluffing you. Hey, phrasing!
We could do that all day.
Put that dick down now!
Oh my.
So it's like Tim Hortons, excuse me. Is that like some kind of like a Canadian version of Krispy Kreme or something?
Dunkin' Donuts, but yeah, same kind of thing. It's our national coffee house.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I used to call it Tim Hornets.
Do y'all have Krispy Kreme up there?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
They've made the way up here. Oh God, 15 years ago or something, 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's not as strong up here as the Tim Hortons is. But
it's not true obesity until you've eaten a Krispy Kreme.
Oh, they're so rich. Oh my God. they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good,
I went to this fucking barbecue one time where they had they laid it out on the barbecue on tinfoil. They had the Krispy Kreme donut, right? Fucking pineapple ring on top of that, and then another donut on top of that, wrapped in foil, and they like they kind of baked it for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh man, that would be so good.
It was a sugar coma, man, in a fucking sandwich.
You're caramelizing even further all that delicious sugar. Oh God,
man.
But yeah, along the northern United States, basically along the border, Tim Hortons has kind of crept in there, so a lot more Americans are experiencing it. It's unfortunate because the coffee, the brand of coffee they used to use was a lot better. But they lost their contract, and actually, funny enough, McDonald's now owns the distribution rights to what used to be Tim Hortons coffee. which is much, much better. I love McCafe now.
It's only $1 too. So.
Yeah. It's dirt cheap, and I mean, it's good. It's not like most McDonald's products where you're going to leave feeling like you have to literally.
And for the record, to be specific, he means just the regular coffee. Don't get the spoofy, fancy stuff.
Yeah,
the latte stuff.
The literal beans. The literal beans that they used to buy.
Because I've heard more than enough stories from people that work there that they have a hard time cleaning those, and I don't understand why. Because everybody else who serves coffee has machines that steam milk that they clean. But yeah, that's. I don't trust rumors until I hear that they're not true anymore. That's all I gotta say.
So, getting to the article, basically, the president of Tim Hortons. My keyboard. The president of Tim Hortons, Alex Sato, is leaving. I do have a little message for you. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
I fart in your general direction.
Because he's been there for the last 2 years, and the quality, the service, everything, every aspect of Tim Hortons has been on the decline as opposed to the incline. It hasn't been doing too well. I mean, there's still a financial juggernaut. Don't get me wrong. People still love and frequent their coffee houses all the time. They buy the coffee for their home, etc. But they're on the decline, so it's showing that they're not going in the best direction, even though they've expanded into breakfast. So you can get like breakfast burritos, breakfast sandwiches, akin to what you would find at like McDonald's or whatever. So wraps and stuff like that. But yeah, it's, bye. They were first bought out by Wendy's, and now they're owned by KFC, Taco Bell, I believe. Somebody can correct me in chat if I'm.
So, all right, so what was it about his I guess piloting the corporation that was that. I mean, did the stock go down, and why did the stock go down? If the stock went down. Why did he leave?
Well, because they haven't been, since he entered the position, they haven't increased on the same level as they had previous years. They've actually been on the decline, even though they've been expanding their choices and being more into things like breakfast or food items.
Could Trudeau have anything to do with that?
I'm sure we could find some way of involving Trudeau into it, probably with things like tariffs, imports, exports.
Well, wasn't the Canadian dollar down? I mean, significantly from like.
It has been going down quite a bit recently. Yeah.
So
that has a lot to do with directly to do with our government. In basically putting a stranglehold on one of the biggest oil producers in the world, being Alberta, and just giving them so much red tape that it's so hard to export oil. And it's not only governments, but it's also governments bowing to the pressure of these insane, uninformed protesters who want to shut down pipelines. Or want to get in the way of modernizing pipelines, like the I want to say transatlantic one, Jen, the one that goes into the United States.
Yeah.
That they want to alter and update is one of the biggest, most highly contested one. And you have actual native tribes and leaders on the land that it would affect saying, no, we'll totally take responsibility for our section of pipeline, and we will gladly take the revenue it will.
Right.
Ensure, because as Jen has mentioned in previous streams, Alberta and the engineers there have been going through leaps and bounds to improve the safety of this type of technology. And it's been sold to the rest, to you guys, to the Saudis, to anybody who has any oil production to increase safety of their production. It's only when you get a BP, a big producer, the ones that are too big to touch, that have actual huge ecological disasters and don't really take responsibility for it. That is the big problem. I don't think anyone will contest that. But when you have companies that are doing their best to ensure the safety of it, and they're still being met with this resistance.
You also have to take into account, like, our largest oil companies have been our largest oil companies for that long, like since the get-go. So like they've been through those leaps and bounds. They know what it costs to lose oil, and they don't want to do that because it's bad all around. Like, they don't want to lose the money for the oil. They don't want to fix the product. They don't want to deal with the press. They don't want to deal with the bad reputation. They don't want to deal with the drop in their shares. Like, it's a huge loss for them. Mm-hmm. And they get taxed for it. They get fined for it. It's not a little thing. So they have smartened up a lot, and they don't want to. They'd rather put money into programs for schools so that they get better engineers to fix things better.
And develop new ways and safer ways and more efficient ways. And so I hate to bring, I mean, it's somewhat related. I hate to bring up Beebs. We got two things about the Beebs. I don't really give a shit about Beebs, but it's just kind of funny because people have been ripping on the lids that Tim Hortons for years now, and they just came out with newer lids, and they don't work. Even if the lid is solidly on there, you'll still have coffee leaking out the sides. When you do open it, there's still so much flow that it burns yourself. And I mean, it's unfortunate that it has to take until somebody like the Beebs comes out and says something about it for it to be national news, because Tim Hortons is such a Canadian institution. But at least people are talking about it, and this is one of the big reasons why there could be that could be a contribution to why the president stepped down.
Not to mention, like, a show of support to him for, like, going back to hockey and Tim Hortons. Like,
well, he's a Canadian at heart, even.
It's a little thing. Like, I don't follow the guy. Like I said, I give points to people when I see that they're doing things to improve themselves just because it's nice. But like with a lot of the Canadians that go to the U.S., like, they just don't give a shit about Canada after they move there, Well,
and they also become lost in the fame and the seduction of it all. And he's actually, as much as I don't like his music or some of his commentary, he's actually been able to beat that and come back to being grounded.
Yeah.
So he's got my respect for that.
Yeah, exactly. Kudos to her.
No, fuck off.
But I don't know. It's just the Canadian me who's just a little bit nationalist is just like, anytime I see one of our guys actually show support, I'm like, hey, thanks, that's cool. Just because you do get kind of forgotten in Canada. Especially, yeah.
Are they paper lids?
Plastic.
Oh.
So one of the so continuing on with what the problems are, just at a fundamental level, is one, the cups don't use they're takeaway cups, so they don't use recycled material. They use new material. They aren't recyclable cups, and pretty much the only thing recyclable about them are the lids. And of course, there was a quote from Alex Macedo, the guy who we just covered, the former president. The only people who are going to get pissed off are dry cleaners and car washing companies. It's kind of, sure, it's supposed to be a joke, but it's kind of not the right message you want to be sending when you're talking about something that's a real concern for your client base. Mm-hmm. Because they've used the same shitty lids for 20 years, and it was only been a year since they introduced these new lids that are just as ineffective. They still leak at the sides. They're more akin to a second cup lid. So they're raised. They've got the raised lip where you peel open the... Anyway, it's just not... as you can see here in the picture, it's just this is the simple lid where it just flips it up.
I love how McDonald's is just throwing in some shade right over here. Sorry.
Oh, the
On your article. It's probably
you?
another article about McDonald's, but
I don't know. Now I want to bring that up because that looks hilarious. Yeah, Biebs did his own, poll. How many people are happy with the cups? And yeah, of course, Tim Hortons responds. But so it's just these fundamental things that people are constantly harping on them about that I think has sort of taken away from people's drive to want to patron them more when they can use a company that's acting maybe a little bit more ethically, like a Second Cup who uses recycled cups and who offers you in store the multi-bin disposal area where you can throw away, here's your plastic, here's your paper, here's your garbage, here's your soiled paper, etc. Anyway, I don't want to speak too much on it because I don't really know. I just thought it was an interesting article. And more in relation to the Biebs. So he got to play some shimmy since he came back for the holidays to his hometown with some Toronto Maple Leafs. It's, the advantage of being immensely wealthy and famous. But I had to bring it up because it's so delicious, the salt that Drake is pouring out because of this. He got quite a bit salty. You can see him, some of his friends, and some actual Toronto Maple Leafs, some actual NHL players getting to play some hockey, which is nice because I used to play hockey. If I wasn't a cripple, I'd probably still be playing hockey. But it's Canada's national pastime, and it was good exercise. It's delicious. I don't think this article had the salt from. Oh, damn. And I got rid of the tweet from Drake. He was just upset that he didn't get an invite. And he tweeted something about it. So it was just like, oh, that's good. Anything that throws shade or makes Drake salty, I'm a little bit happy with.
so it's not a big one, but you just made it up to 40 subs, sir.
Woo!
Thank you to whoever subbed.
Thanks, guys. I'm on the road to 100 on this channel, so I can actually put in a proper name for my channel and not just be some random conglomerate of numbers and letters. Because, God damn it, yes, I do come from a Jewish background, YouTube, and I find it personally offensive that you would just assign
Let's
me a
make
number.
Snow Mexicans a household word.
Exactly.
Hit that like button like it's your
And you know what, Irate? I'm not above asking for pity pity subs either. If you don't ever want to come back here, I don't care. Just give me that number. I can get to 100, and then that's that first wall. If you can get to that 100 subs, you can start growing more as a channel, and hopefully that'll be something I can look forward to in the future. But thank you so much to everybody who subbed to the channel today. You guys are champions, and fucking rock on! Yeah! Woo!
All right.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to point that out because
Meet the new boss.
A milestone is still a little milestone. So
Yeah.
and yes, support.
Always gotta start somewhere.
When was the last time anybody got accused of fat shaming a guy?
Rar.
Ooh. The SJWs. Okay, Andy. Did he just show up at my house? I know where he lives.
Fucking doofus.
Where he used to live. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Thanks, Irate.
Oh God, I remember, back in the day when Andy Worski was a thing, and he'd done this video where he'd like showered in milk, and then he had this little thing that he did with Chris Worski afterwards, and I was like, so when's Chris gonna do one with soy milk? And I kept asking it. I was just like, and I kept putting it like a winky smiley face. I was just like, do it.
Yeah, he went downhill when he stopped doing sketches.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, Chris is still doing stuff though. He's on the Chris Mang channel. Yeah, he's doing his own thing. So yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Talking more like about psychological stuff and marijuana.
That's good because his brother's become
shit.
quite unstable over the years, and to just sort of distance himself and kind of get on his own track.
Yeah, they're
must
not
be
brothers.
really good for him.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not?
No. That's a thing.
I've never
Maybe
been.
there's some drama between them too. It happened a while back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a whatever.
Yeah.
It's
Just we'll just chalk that up to.
Oh my God! Who the hell cares?
So to follow-
I'm going home.
Shut up, Wesley.
Dude, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Oh my God.
He fucked up.
How dare you?
Okay.
So to follow up with a couple of articles that we've already covered.
Love you, Alan.
Being a dickhead fool. Stop being a dickhead.
I was liking that, man. Nice crew there.
One of these days, I'm going to get a full panel of just like me and 5 other people. You're welcome to show up, Irate, and we just do the entire stream with soundboard
Communication. I like that.
But to follow up with a couple articles we've covered previously, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Duncan Hunter, the United States Congressman, Republican from California. He's a little well known for being the vaping guy. He vapes on the job. There's apparently this case where he was accused of using campaign funds for some things like games on Steam. He has pleaded guilty he's pleaded guilty, even though he originally said he was innocent and these are fraudulent charges, like on his Steam account and stuff. He's actually pled guilty to use campaign funds to pay for things like video games and plane tickets for his pet rabbits. It's
Okay.
It's kind of like politicians.
How dare you?
You like, yeah, we all know most politicians are in some way or another corrupt, but this just to me takes it to another level. Like plane tickets for your fucking pet rabbits? You don't make almost 200 grand a year. You can't buy your own plane tickets. You can't buy your own video games. When you knowingly and willfully, literally stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign funds to suit your lifestyle, that's just no, fuck that. This guy, I hope he gets found guilty, and if he is guilty, and he gets yeeted out of the system and can no longer run for office, and there's got to be, I hope
he'll just get a fine.
Punitive action. Yeah, unfortunately. He might just get a...
By some miracle, if you do this sound off with the sound pad, I think you need to invite Sinatra on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much pressure we'll have to put on him, but we'll have to do that.
Didn't only spend money on that. He spent the stolen money on things like Lego sets, fast food, movie tickets, shoes, groceries. And beyond that, the attorney's office has said the Hunters also use funds on international vacations and even plane tickets for their pet rabbits, whose names are Egbert and Cadbury. Aside from just bad pet names, I hope he gets held accountable, because this is an egregious misappropriation of funds. And if the media is going to take the non-issue of, accusing Trump of misappropriating funds and doing all this shit, but then you actually have evidence of other senators, congressmen, etc., who are under legitimate investigation. Not only Hunter here, but Imam Omar.
She's a big one too. Like
They're not being covered as fervently as Trump or some of the others. It really should be, because
hers isn't even a small amount of money. It's quite a bit of money, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and same kind of situation here that we have with Hunter, in that it's for their lifestyle. She was not only being what the hell's the word? Infidel? No, not infidel. When you're not adhering to your vows of marriage, infidelity. She was cheating on her then husband with her campaign manager, and using some of that money allegedly to maintain a jet setter kind of lifestyle for the two of them.
Yep.
They actually, I don't know if that ended up being like fake or something, but I remember back a while ago, wasn't she caught at an Antifa rally with him?
Probably, I wouldn't be surprised.
It was like an at night shot. It's one of those things that like everyone had covered it and then it just disappeared, and it never gets brought up again because
that happens a lot with leftist bullshit, doesn't it?
Like it was one of those things where like she was clearly there. They were both there. Like he turned around, you saw his face. She turned around, like it was, her face was partially covered, but you could tell who she was.
Right.
Well, she always is partially covered, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not exactly something new.
I don't know about that, RJ. If Sanute. Excuse me, one second.
Yeah, I had the hiccups for a second.
Yeah, I had a hiccup burp, which kind of made me cough a little. I hate those. Nice. At least it wasn't a hiccup, burp, and fart at the same time.
Those are
I'm no Sinatra. I can't, demand $100 to play it. But if you wanted to, I wouldn't be so adverse to it. But you know what? Since I like you so much, RJ, and you've been a supporter of mine since day one,
'cause there is no cock like horse cock. Send your asshole into shock.
Not the whole thing, just a clip.
Good.
I love having dicks in my mouth.
If you don't like it, don't fucking watch it.
Whereas on this show, when we talk about penis,
I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not. So again, because I'm such a huge science nerd, we have a really cool story about scientists briefly reactivating the cells of a 28,000-year-old woolly mammoth.
And reactivating the cells,
like defrosting them, and they start
life.
They start, they resume their natural life cycle. So as you can see here in the picture, I'll give it a second for you guys to catch up on StreamYards. You can see that it looks pretty well preserved. They got it out of the ice, and it's not like Jen was asking me before stream if this is, part of like cloning tech or anything like that. And it's not really, it's just a show of what we can do with science today when we unearth some of these finds. Previously, we talked about the dinosaur tail that was perfectly preserved in amber. But something like this with the applications and ramifications as it relates to cryogenics, being able to freeze people or animals and completely reanimate them safely.
Older than all of us combined. I don't know how old you think we all are, RJ.
Yeah, Kyler's pretty old. I'm pretty sure he's the Highlander at this point.
Well, the clone, they have to put in an elephant, and that's 18 months gestation.
Maybe.
So elephant has a long time.
Yeah, it's like 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Well, the thing is like you don't know how big that baby's gonna be. Like that could kill a female elephant. So, yeah, I get you. It's not going that way. That was where my mind was. It's just like how are they gonna do that then? Are they gonna? Right.
Yeah, I mean the easiest way would be to take some of those cells from things that are trapped in amber because they're perfectly preserved, not so much something like this. And then that could be more, your Jurassic Park style of cloning, of taking those cells and actually introducing a extinct species. Really cool stuff that previous science fiction is just becoming more and more science possibility. In today's age, it's fucking fascinating. And oh my god, half of the shit I read all day is stuff like this. This happy fellow was found in the happened to be found in the Russian permafrost.
Yeah, they have quite a few of them.
Me?
Yeah. What?
Well, so it's a Russian spy then, huh?
Oh, I had. God damn it, CNN! Why are you playing? I thought Irate was playing some music or something, so it's like jamming along. It was just some stupid CNN video.
Did y'all hear music earlier?
I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear anything. I was just
Okay,
like,
cool.
No, it was just me. It was just playing on my side. I wasn't broadcasting it. A new study in Scientific Reports, blah, 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 explains how university in Japan biologist Kazuo Yamagata and his team took 88 nucleus-like structures from the muscle tissue of a woolly mammoth whose body was in tremendous shape when they extracted from her an icy Siberian grave, named Yuka. They put her preserved cells into ovarian cells of a mouse. Those cells, known as oocytes, are part of the cells that control a mouse's embryonic development. Scientists were able to slightly reactivate the mammoth cells when the mouse cell nuclei was incubated. While no cell division took place, the ancient mammoth cells did begin the process needed before that can take place. There's probably a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo I can go into as to why that didn't happen. But again, being able to show that we can, in some small ways, in our primitive, all things considered, technology, able to reactivate those cells with the help of genetic material we already have on hand.
I'm not meaning to giggle on you, but when they were coming up with teacup mammoths, I kind of thought they would go the pig route rather than the mouse route.
God. Noof! Hey, buddy. Yeah, he's got to work today. Yeah, I just thought that this was exciting. I'm sorry you guys aren't as invested, but
oh no, that's great.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
That
Relax.
last line though just sent me straight to South Park. I was just like,
I wanted to show the video. This is under the electron microscope.
Oh, cool.
So you can see the cell division. Why is it not playing? Can you not be a douchebag?
Yeah.
There we go. You can see not the division, the development of the cells here on the right from the mammoth and how they would normally act. It's not letting me replay the video. What the hell? Why you do this? God damn it. Well, whatever. I'll play it like
Refresh
this.
the page, yeah.
How a normal elephant cell would act in comparison to the mammoth. They're very similar. They tried this about 10 years ago with a 15,000-year-old mammoth, but they weren't able to have anything happen. The cells just remained in a dormant or dead state. So this is really exciting. It could be a major step in bringing back extinct animals. It could be a major step in being able to edit our understanding and able to edit other animals, even ourselves, our genes, and be able to weed out things like birth defects on a genetic level. And then, of course, do you guys want Khan? Because this is how we get Khan. I think in today's day, we have to sort of set so the same thing doesn't happen with technology and the tech industry and let it run away without us. Let's start putting in some legal barriers in place right now and saying, okay, as a society, we agree. We can start weeding out genetic defects and bad things, but we can't go the genetic editing route of improvements. So you can't turn somebody into a super soldier like China's trying to do, or that's completely...
We can't just send Monkey to Mexico with 250 million pesos to make him the new Bionics Man. I get it.
Well, no, because again, that would be injury. That would be a defect. Same thing with me. I have a lot of similar mobility problems. And yeah, sure, I would say go back and edit some of my genes and give me some gene therapy that would eliminate that condition that I was apparently born with or had an accident exacerbate or whatnot. But you can't edit my genes so that my muscle mass will grow at 25% an increased rate of normal, or that my brain processes aren't hyper stimulated so that I become the next Stephen Hawking. You know, like editing for improvements is one thing. Editing for
like the designer babies.
Yeah, corrections is one thing, but to design babies, to design people, that I think skirts the. And this is why, you know, better people than us could have the discussion and lay down some stipulations on this stuff before it becomes a readily available technology, because CRISPR is not readily available to the layman as much as the media kind of wants to start making it a boogeyman.
See, Elwin, I do not mind that China is doing that, because the thing with China is they have to understand that with no females, there's no more China.
Yeah, well, it's going to destroy the genetic diversity too. Less females there are.
Well, they would see, knowing China the way I do and how much I keep up with them, they would purposefully use certain females who are smart, athletic, you know, like alpha females. They would then become wards of the state and be used as breeding stock, and I don't agree with that. That is disgusting, and it's a very real threat from China. Wow. Okay.
Woo! That went dark.
Yeah, it kind of sucks the oxygen out of the room there. It's like intense, man.
Well, you say that, Noof, but you know, all the guys would then be getting, you know, genetically engineered, you know, 12-inch cocks that the women would be like, well, I don't want those. Those are too big, and I hate feeling like you're fucking spearing me instead of enjoying sex.
Porno ain't sex, y'all. Porno is not love making.
Yeah.
Sex, right?
But then you'd have the response of women getting genetic engineering to increase their size so that they accommodate these things, and then you just run around with a bunch of like really weird looking elephant people all over the place. We're so far genetically.
It would end up with anime people. We would have furries everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, the majority of women, they may be at some degree insecure about their breast size. So you'd be watching a lot of, you know, they wouldn't be implants, they'd be genetically engenered balloon-titted women all over the place because, you know, they want to be that Barbie doll look. And you know what? I'm not that guy. I know a lot of men out there, they're not that guy. We don't want that Barbie doll looking woman. We want a woman. You know, just be yourself. And with this whole genetic engineering thing, it's like, it's going to blur that line of what is yourself.
Well, this kind of comes back to like what y'all were talking about when I hopped in, you know, the dating thing, you know, and then we're talking about, you know, be your genuine who you are. You know, that's really what people respond to is being genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Just a second. My brother's talking to me.
Yeah, no problem. So our last little topic today, bring that up. I thought we'd end on a fun note. Not one of my favorite outlets to get news, but they occasionally have some decent articles. And this one is just the biggest movies to watch for in 2020. And we're going to have some really big names coming out this year. I'm kind of excited as a cinephile. How do you guys rank on the film scale of things? Are you guys like really into film and like super cinephile, or are you just casual watchers? Or
yeah, I prefer video games.
It depends on the year.
I am a horror aficionado.
Oh, I wanted to assume as much because of some of the avatars you use.
Yes,
because I do recognize them.
It's definitely a dog whistle to appropriate some fucking shit words. You know?
So first off, we have The Grudge. Speaking of horror, were you ever into the original Grudge?
Absolutely. I've seen all the Japanese stuff and the.
Well, that was going to be. I'm sorry. I should have rephrased that. So there was the original The Grudge, the American remake, and then there were the Grudge series that was the Japanese films.
Right. Well, the guy that did the remake is the guy that did the original.
Yeah. Yeah.
So technically, it's I don't know. I like the Asian version better.
Yeah, Ju-on was creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it's a good movie. And
the Japanese do horror really well sometimes.
Well, and some of the the effects are like they look cheap if you really want to look at them, but they're the way that they use the cheapness is really creative and makes it more creepy.
Yeah, because they're playing more on a psychological horror.
Yeah.
Than the American sort of like jump scare or gore horror.
Right.
Which by all means, all of those can be done right, but they've just mastered that blending and using the psychological horror to scare you a lot more.
Well, a lot of these characters are based off of their legends, like and their legends are scary. Like a lot of them are legit scary. I mean, some of them are kind of ridiculous, but it's easy to see them remake them, and they have a fear of ghosts, right? Like right. The real reason that Ghostbusters didn't do well in China is just because they don't like ghosts.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I know chat's a little bit delayed. RJ, you make an excellent point. I'm going to save that for another day, though, because in near future, there's going to be a big article about this coming up, and I want to tackle that as a whole. But you are right that that can definitely be a double-edged sword. I'm actually kind of cool to see this. It's going to be a complete new reboot with new characters. And a new plot, other than it's still drawing from the original Grudge series, in that the evil is still going to be the same, but it's going to be a whole new series, and I'm actually kind of excited because they
learned from the Death Note abortion that happened on Netflix.
Yeah, don't try to reboot or remake or.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But one of those things that anime fans have to realize is that you can get more out of drawing things than you can with just like visual. At least now.
Well, they weren't anime; they were real life. Oh, you're talking about Death Note, right? Mm-hmm. Brain fart. Sorry. Next, Death Note
had two good movies.
Bad Boys for Life. Mm-hmm. I liked the original. The second one was okay. It wasn't as good as the first. But I think that this is that series was an example of Michael Bay doing a film right, because he could still add the big flashy boom crash craziness that a Michael Bay spectacle is warranted, but he's got two really good actors. They played well off each other. It came together. It was good. I'm a little weary when they try to pick up a franchise this late, but I'd be willing to give this a shot. Speaking of Michael Bay, I'm just going to go off a little bit here. I just watched Six Underground, the new Michael Bay film on Netflix. Anybody get a chance to see that?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, what'd you think?
I fell asleep towards the end. It was like it had this like cool rhythm to it and shit.
Yeah.
But it's just like it just kept moving, and it was like, well, where the fuck are we going? And it's just like they never answered the question for me. I just like, and so I wake up an hour later and the movie's over, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? My wife's going, I fell asleep. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of your typical Michael Bay sort of action go spectacle, things blowing up, people doing crazy things, action sequence after action sequence. But I thought the cast more than made up for it. You got that dynamic of like the A-Team. Only it didn't really, even though the stuff going on was still kind of super serious, it didn't take itself too seriously. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not the biggest Michael Bay fan, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was, a fun little. Uh-oh, your computer's dying.
Don't get me wrong; it's a good popcorn movie, and Ryan Reynolds is always a winner. So.
Next one, Birds of Prey.
Scary. This is horror.
It really is. For anyone who's been sort of keeping up with what's been going on, this is one of those woke films, and they're pushing themselves to being this wokeness film. And they're riding the coattails of
Ghostbusters.
Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, who was, she was a very good Harley Quinn in the movies. I didn't like either of the movies. She's a pretty good actress, but not somebody I go out to see.
She's also a really pretty girl, and I know that doesn't say everything, but they pushed her image everywhere. Like,
why are you gay?
How many women do you know still went out as Harley Quinn for Halloween this year because it's just slutty enough to get away with it,
And all the thoughts on their Instagrams and
no shame to them for it. Like, if you
not at all.
No shame to you for it.
It gets a little played out after a while.
And same to her. So like the minute I see this, I'm just like, oh good. No, thank you. There's Amazon, and then what? Ninja Black Lady, Ninja Transgender Lady, man.
Who knows?
I'm not sure. And then Asian Nerd Lady in the back. Great. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, this is supposed to be Huntress, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is actually an actress that I will go out and see a film that she's in because I love her. I on a personal level, I think she's gorgeous, but she's also a fantastic actor. She was one of the key ingredients. I felt that John Carpenter's Thing, sort of semi-sequel, made it such a great, semi-prequel sequel, made it great. I like the films that she's in. That's cool. But as far as Huntress goes, that's the costume is really bad. Huntress is really much of a, spandex kind of superhero. And it doesn't translate well into some of the costume shots I've seen. Black Canary is her or her? I don't even know. It's her. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Black Canary at all. I think she was a white woman before in the comics. I think she's white in the Arrow show. I mean, I don't care about, race shifting or changing. Like, I don't really care who's in the role of the role, as long as it's appropriate. Sometimes there are roles that it is actually very necessary to have a specific race or gender, because that affects their lore, their background, their character, the stories that surround them. Like you had with Roland Deschain in the Gunslinger trilogy when they made the Dark Tower movie. There was a lot of tones, a lot of bringing up racism and race that they never touched on in the film, so that they could shoehorn Idris Elba into the main character who's supposed to be white.
If you read the book, the whole book is the guy was based off Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he definitely drew up a lot of influence from there. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Come on, man.
Gamer, but I really couldn't give a rat's ass. Anybody give a shit?
Sonic been dead for a while now.
He didn't go away.
Bloodshot, which to me is looking just like a Vin Diesel action piece.
Another Triple X.
It's a comic.
Yeah, I know he was. Which comic was it?
It's called Bloodshot. It was it was an indie that came out during the 80s and 90s.
Because he's being forced to eat elephant cock.
That's funny.
Sony and their elephant cock.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, starting up a newer, less well-known, kind of quote-unquote anti-hero, superhero kind of franchise should be good. I'm one of the people, I actually think Diesel's a pretty good actor for what he is, an action star. He's a pretty good actor. Not really going to rush out and see this. I might, one day when it pops on screen, I might.
He's okay. Like, I mean, he's had some really good ones. He's had some that I wasn't like too keen on, but yeah, I don't find him bad as an actor.
The comic was pretty decent, but I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off. So it's like, this is like something I might like see down the line. It's not anything I'm going to like, spend good money on. None of this shit is. Maybe The Ring. But Ari Aster's not putting anything out in 2020, so it's like I'm not gonna spend my money on anything.
There's lots of people who are fans of Pixar. New Onward movie, don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have Tom Holland in it, and I really don't like Tom Holland.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Quiet Place 2. I know that was kind of people were all over the board with this one. Some people liked it, some people hated it. A lot of people were in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle. It was an interesting concept. Wasn't a huge fan of the movie. Probably not going to rewatch it. Doesn't really make me too invigorated to go see the second.
I haven't seen The Quiet Place 1 yet, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a clone of that movie with the girl from Mad Men, the daughter. It was called something like Silence or some shit like that.
Yeah, I saw that one. It was very not memorable. And then they even did the other one with the blind one with Speed Girl.
Yeah, 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 man, that movie, Bird Box.
That was
that was.
I mean, I appreciate what the genre is trying to do in what happens when one of our senses kind of betrays us, but it hasn't been in American cinema.
Well, what got me was the woke shit, the woke narrative that was woven into it after it had come out for a while. And, all these critics are using these woke reasons to like the movie. And it's like, well, you just could have liked it because you liked it. Or maybe you like it because you like sucking dick so you can get access to some freebie shit, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a piece of shit and you just liked it because you like sucking dick. So
it's all part of the plan.
So
I couldn't stand that fucking movie.
Yeah, and the book wasn't that good either.
And if they'd ended the movie like they ended the book, it would have been great. And they blinded the children.
Yeah.
We appreciate you stopping by, Dave.
Yeah, it's dark as fuck, man. I was like, oh, that would have made it good.
For anybody who did like it, John Krasinski's going to be directing the sequel.
Cool.
Emily Blunt is coming back. And we're also going to get Cillian Murphy from 28 Days Later. He's a fantastic actor. Peaky Blinders, great guy, great actor. And John Kunsu, Guardians of the Galaxy, the very African-looking guy. Yeah, who nobody can pronounce his name, but he's been in like every fucking movie in the last 20 years. He's also a fantastic actor. He just doesn't get his comeuppance in getting like a really strong leading role. But yeah, we'll see. The new Bond, No Time to Die. Just like the last one, they're adding all this woke narrative bullshit to something they haven't seen. I'm not letting it affect me, but I'm also a little weary that it might happen. I'm for me personally, not a fan of Daniel Craig. I don't think he's the best Bond. I don't think the new writing style is the best Bond. I liked more a little bit of the suave debonair, can talk his way out of certain situations, but can still act as a blunt instrument, Fortunately, in the new one, not only are we going to get Craig, who some people really like, we're going to get Rami Malek. Not a huge fan, but he's a great actor. Madeleine Swan, who's a good actress, French, and Christoph Waltz, one of my favorite fucking actors
So he's
living,
back.
working today.
Back as Blofeld.
Yeah, he's coming back as Blofeld.
Yeah.
So they are bringing the Daniel Craig series. You know, they're it's a franchise, like it's connected. I do appreciate that. I'll still watch it because I'm still a huge Bond fan. But I'm a little worried that maybe it might be feeding too much into that woke narrative. Because, you know, as any cinephile can tell you, yes, you can have, or even like a Star Trek fan or anybody, yes, you can incorporate social justice issues. You don't have to smack people in the face with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not your dick. You don't need to be, smacking.
No, people are smart enough to make their minds up for themselves. If you show an accurate picture or representation, people will draw their conclusions. You know,
Exactly.
They're going to draw them anyway.
That's the key part is letting people draw their conclusions. Something I'll continually say about Star Trek is it would present, not only diametrically opposed points of view on a certain topic, it'll give you multiple different views on the topic and let you as the viewer come to your own conclusion in what you think might be right or a possible solution, and not just smack you in the face with the dead fish saying, no, you have to think this way or you're a bad person. A big one I know a lot of people are excited about, obviously, because it's fucking MCU, Black Widow. No?
I could take it or leave it.
Okay. Jen, Prostate?
Oh,
I don't know.
I was...
I don't know, man. But I do need to dip.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've got family
it's all good.
stuff,
We're going
man.
way over time, and we're normally ending by this time. So
we got car issues.
And my brain went like total bloop.
I appreciate the invite, y'all.
Thanks for showing up. I sometimes get lost in those sweet South Georgian accent, dulcet tones of yours on stream, and it was great to be able to talk to you in real time.
Well, groovy, man.
If you got stuff to shill, feel free to drop it in my chat. I know you do. Well, I'll let you talk about it, but I'm a big fan of the Star Trek stuff, the Cream Stream, and your Sunday madness.
Yeah, the ice cream interview.
Ice cream interviews.
Yeah, and that's tomorrow. I'm going to be interviewing a guy known as Pancalo, the Driving Ape Man,
nice.
also known as Mr. Blind Press. He's I've known him for a little while, so it should be funny as hell. We should have a good time. And we will. So I'm throwing the link in here, and then, but I am sorry I can't stay longer. But
it's all good, dude. All good, dude. We're super casual here, so
we got man. It's life is life, man, and it's nice to have one outside of YouTube.
Yes,
just saying.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Thanks, y'all, and have a great weekend. Happy New Year's if I don't see you before then. Hopefully we'll be running into each other like in. At least chat ratting and monkeys chat. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. All right. Later, Cass. Jen, it was a cool. We'll talk again too. All right. Later, taters.
Have fun.
Okay. So I guess buy Irate Prostate. Really fun. You guys should sub to Irate Prostate because I find his content to be pretty entertaining and funny. He's got a wicked sense of humor, and he's a good old Georgian boy. So give him a sub. Continuing on, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love the run of the MCU from Iron Man 1 to Endgame. Loved it all, except for a little bit here and there. Miss Marvel.
Well, I've seen all of them but Miss Marvel, so
it was okay. It wasn't bad. It was just no, it was bad. Never mind. A lot of people like the Widow. I'm indifferent. She was always a good supporting character. Even if you were to do a Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. movie, would be a wicked supporting character. not a real good lead. And I think she had a little bit too much of a lead in Endgame with the whole story arc there. So probably not going to go out of my way to see this one either. They're billing it as a Black Widow, but Jason Bourne style movie. Yeah, a spy movie. Okay. I do like spy movies. I'll eventually see it probably.
At the very least, I would watch this one at home. I will never watch Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Because at least I can appreciate Scarlett Johansson as a professional, because she is an SJW. Don't get me wrong, she is a feminist, but she doesn't push her issues on everybody. She just acts. And I think out of all of them, I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't turn around really quick, because her job has been interfered with so many times.
That movie where she was supposed to play the transgender dude from Texas.
Yeah.
She lost that role because she kowtowed to the justice advocates.
Not a move that can be made.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, we're not going to go too much longer. We're just going to get through some of these movies, and we'll end the stream. We are going quite a bit over time. But I really wanted to talk to people about these movies.
Of course.
Next up, we have Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, I was done with number 3.
That.
Yeah.
Now this one is going to be huge. Wonder Woman 1984. Because not only did Gal Gadot just fucking rock the role as Wonder Woman, she's coming back, but it was a well-received DC movie, which is really weird because they haven't been putting out good live-action stuff. I loved Wonder Woman. I thought it was a great origin story to her. Yeah. And did it from the beginning. They didn't have to do a whole bunch of, flashbacky stuff. They started at the beginning. They told you basically kind of who she was, big reveal at the end, cool superhero. She's been a staple of the DC pantheon for a long time now. Done really well. The trailer looks really exciting. We watched that a couple weeks ago. A little confusing, but I'm excited. With thoughts?
Well, I didn't dislike. It's probably one of the few movies that I've watched lately with my mom was that one. So, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I remember there was a little kerfuffle about the fact that she had the ending with the I need no man, but it was well, no, she did. She made a mistake. She regrets it. Years later, she's still got his stuff. So yeah, she did need a man. She still regrets making that decision. So yeah, I actually did like that movie. So I could see myself watching this one.
I haven't seen the first one yet, so.
It was good. I mean, it's definitely a good movie. It's not great.
I thought for a period piece dealing with superheroes, I thought it was great. I thought it was, I would say that and the first Captain America were fantastic fictional period pieces.
The thing is, I have this problem with throwing in actors who've played certain roles in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who plays Mars has been in so many roles between oh god, I can't even think of the name. The one with Kevin Costner. He was the bad guy in that. And then he was also the teacher in Harry Potter. He was the 3rd grade teacher who was the werewolf.
Oh god, why? Gary Oldman.
No. Gary Oldman was the uncle. He was
Sirius Black.
The Godfather, yeah.
Not
he
the
was
werewolf.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Damn, I'm dumb.
But yeah, whenever I see his face, it's one of those things where that it just happens. I I can't take him seriously in certain roles because I see his face and I'm just oh look, he's Mars. He's Mars now.
The CG and how they kind of ended in the third act, how they ended with his character was very unsettling. I'll give you that. Even as somebody, like, it was a little bit unsettling. It wasn't the best, but I can look past little details like that if it's for the better enjoyment of the movie. And
no shade to him. Like that just tells you that I've recognized him in enough movies. It's just his name. I'm not good with names. I've never been good with names. It doesn't even matter how popular you are or how many awards you have. There's a good chance that I would meet you and be like, yeah, dude, I can't remember your name.
And you're entirely right, Kyler. Gal Gadot. Yeah, another one. I'm not gonna lie, I'll watch something if she's in it because I find her insanely attractive. That's guy life. Sorry, women out there, and it's just how guys are wired. We like pretty things. Doesn't mean we're gonna be unfaithful or whatever, but we do gravitate to these pretty things.
I'm cars or women.
I'm picturing your girlfriend buying some Wonder Woman underwear.
Some Wonder Woman underoos.
Yeah. Wonder Woman's costume is well, it's great. Next is Candyman. Amazing horror movies from the 90s. Have either of you seen it?
I remember it, but I only watched parts of it. I didn't watch the B part. Like I remember skimming straight past that because I wanted nothing to do with it.
Okay.
But yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame Irate still isn't here because he'd probably be all for this. Excuse me. Jordan Peele is going to be writing and producing this. He did Get Out and Us. I didn't like either movie.
I've seen Us. I don't like it either. So.
Yeah, very different reasons. I did appreciate Get Out though because he did horror well, blending that what we were talking about with The Grudge, the psychological with the like visual sort of suspense and horror. So it'd be interesting to see what he does with something that's already established. Because there are people out there in the industry like David Benioff and D.B. Weiss who did Game of Thrones. They did Game of Thrones excellently because they could pull from somebody else's source material. But once they had to rely on their own artistic merits, their own creativity, they fell flat and they fell hard. So that's kind of where I think that Jordan Peele might be floundering in my eyes, is that he's not doing his own stuff well, but he might be able to do something already established pretty well. So we'll see. For anyone that's a true horror aficionado, this probably will be something to look at. Look at. Oh my God, I'm tripping over my tongue again. Something to be looking forward to. Another Pixar movie called Soul. It's probably going to be, because it's going to be Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. What is with these animated movies? Just putting super famous people in there just for the sake of it. I blame Adam Sandler. He's such a dick.
It's Disney's fault.
Yeah. Pixar's kind of.
So when we're done this article functional, I have a way for us to play Stardew Valley together in a way that I think would be fun.
Okay. Another huge one that I know a lot of people, not really me, even though I was a fan of the original, that people are really looking forward to. I know Monkey, if you're ever listening to this, he's probably getting he probably got a slight chub from seeing the trailer. Looks pretty good. The trailer looks like going to be a solid, decent movie. I just like
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, no, it is Tom Cruise. He's reprising. It's a sequel, 20 years later or whatever. Isn't
he a little short to be a pilot though?
No, you want small people to be pilots. Smaller masses to have to deal with things. I'll probably still see it at some point.
I could just, for some reason with this shot, I can just see someone just putting Trump's face in
behind him, doing the sniffing him. Oh, I'm gonna have. Oh, let me save that now because I'm gonna have to do that.
I'm sorry, I can't get it out of my head because the eyebrows, you know.
Mm-hmm. Brain fart. Where was I going with this? Again, it's if anything, my problem is just revitalizing these films 10, 20 years later. You know, it's just kind of like I'm over it. Are either of you kind of excited?
Not really.
Okay. Maybe this one will titillate your senses. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Another big revitalization to something that's been, you know, on the shelves creatively for a while. Huge fan favorite of Paul Rudd, of the original guys, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver was probably one of my first on-screen sort of crushes.
See, I'm the lucky one here in that, like, most of the people who have the biggest complaint about it so far has been like the kid actor being from Stranger Things. I've never watched Stranger Things. So I have no idea if that's going to affect the role at all. Like if the
you can see chat blowing up. I know Elwin. I know I'm going to have to see this in theater because of her. Like me, I could probably go without, but if she's really into it, that means I'm really into it, and I'm really into the theater experience with her to go see this movie.
Oh, that's nice.
So I mean, yes, I know I've said revitalizing something after, you know, a long time is kind of, but it seems like the producers of this movie and the director, Ivan Reitman's son, Jason Reitman, are going to pull out all the stops to do the original films justice without relying or remaking them, unlike what was it 2016 version with the all-female cast, which flopped. And yeah, totally on board with you, Kyler. This is one where I'm more optimistic than not.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
You know what? Even if it wasn't like better than like the second movie, I would still be happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, it was never that it had to be like the greatest movie. It was just it had to have all the important ties to a storyline. You know,
without relying too much, so much that it kind of makes it just like a fan servicey movie or a remake, like they did with the new first movie of the Star Wars trilogy was basically just a remake, and the second one and the first one and the third one are hitting those nostalgia buttons and relying on those. You're totally right.
See, I don't know if they're doing that with the intentions that they take over if they continue on with another movie, Kyler. Like they might be playing them off as young actors right now because, like, let's be real, like the older actors, like if they did do a sequel to this movie, who knows who's going to be left? You know, and I'm not saying that to be morbid. I'm just saying that to be realistic. Because, you know, like between a lot of them, Bill Murray looks old. Like he doesn't look good half the time.
He looks fine. Did you see the new what movie did we just see with him in it? Is the sequel Zombieland 2.
Yeah.
He was spry. He was still, you know, they might have to put a little bit of makeup, use some CGI to give him, you know, less of a dead old man look in his face. Well, I mean, you don't even really need to. Look at Christopher Lee. He looks like a fucking walking zombie, but he's still incredible to watch on screen.
Yeah.
But
like, I'm not downplaying him. I'm just saying that, like, he
is old. He is old.
He's old. You know, so I want to appreciate the fact that, like, I want to see them in this movie. Like, that's the important thing. Because the last chance that we're going to have of them being in this movie.
And to do it in the right way where those guys can pass the torch. So that maybe we can get some good Ghostbusters follow-ups using new people. You know, the kind of thing that a lot of people would like to see. And it's good that Jason's treating this as just a one and done movie, not taking again the JJ route and we're going to have a trilogy, so it doesn't matter. Well, no, you do have to pass the torch in an acceptable, respectable, and still cinematically viable way.
That's all I'm saying. It's just that's the reality of my age right now. It's I'm not even old, but like I can tell it's like you just start to appreciate the people that are still around, especially when you have old movies like this.
And I mean, I think that's why it gives more cynical people like myself and Kyler a little bit more hope than not when it comes to this movie, even though you don't really get to see really like anything in the trailer. You get a taste. And that's what I think, you really should get from the trailer. The trailer should not ruin the movie or the plot or whatever. So we have another Disney movie based
off a ride.
Yeah, based off a ride in the spirit of Pirates of the Caribbean, which first 3 were pretty good. I like them. They're fun romps. Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. If you've been on that ride, you know that ride has like I don't know how you make a story of that ride.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a huge Dwayne Johnson fan. I don't care how bad the movie is. I'm going to see it as soon as it comes to streaming or something. It's not like I'm going to rush out and see it in theater. No. But I am going to definitely see this movie. I love Emily Blunt. She's really attractive, but I really like some of the roles she's had over the years, and it's really good. They're playing this as, part inspired by the Jungle Cruise ride, but they want to make it sort of Indiana Jonesy feeling. So it's not going to be super, super serious all the time. And that's a hard balance to make. So that's what's going to be sort of what's going to make me very skeptical of it. I know a lot of people aren't going to give a shit about this movie. Yeah.
He might do okay with that. Like, I mean, sometimes he's kind of a mix when it comes between, because he can do silly and he can definitely do serious, So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, and I can totally understand why people would just be like, pass.
I mean,
I'm a cinephile, so
if it's playing at home with my mom, I'll watch it probably, because like I don't dislike Dwayne. Like he's actually a pretty genuine guy. I do like him as an actor.
Dude, I literally had to sit through those last few Fast and Furious movies just because how much I love The Rock. And they were horrible. I hated them. Like there's so many movies that people like The Rock or like your Gal Gadot's or Mary Elizabeth Winstead's, people, Gary Oldman's, who I love as actors, love as people, and will watch anything they're in. But I sit through these absolute abortions of film because through no fault of their own, were just horrible movies just so I could see them. Yeah, going back to superhero franchises, this one is actually kind of cool for me because not only did I love Venom, I know that's a controversial topic. I'm not going to get into it. I just like the movie. I really love the movie. Even though it was, PG-13, it should have been an R-rated movie. That's gonna plague Morbius as well, because it's going to have a PG-13, not an R rating. However, it is in that sort of anti-hero, hero, lots of conflict, good comic book character, very much lesser known characters. So Sony's not giving up the fight yet with some of the properties they still own. I'm kind of excited to see this because it's going to be Jared Leto, who I think made a terrible Joker, but is a pretty good actor, great range. Not one of my favorites, but I appreciate his work. And it's about vampirism in the modern age, akin to what Blade did. And if they can capitalize on what Blade did for Morbius, I think it's going to be a great, great film.
As long as you don't go Twilight route.
Go what route? Sorry?
The route of Twilight.
Twilight, yeah. Yeah, no, that's the wrong way to do vampires. Even if you're more into that sort of fluff vampire-y stuff, go watch True Blood. That had better acting, better drama, better story than Twilight ever could. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Are we seeing a trend with 2020 people? We're seeing a lot of these revitalization projects. Some of them are going to be good. Some of them are going to be great. Some of them are going to be absolute abortions.
I mean, I get nostalgia because, like, well, you know, I haven't seen the other actor in like years. Like, I'm not saying he hasn't done roles, but I haven't seen him in years in like a serious role. So, you know, like Keanu Reeves is as cool as he is. Like, I haven't seen this guy in years.
Chris Matheson.
Yeah.
No, wait. Not Chris Matheson. Which one? Alex Winter. Alex Winter played Bill.
I don't know that I'd be into it though. Like, the thing is like my age group is no longer like what was into that. You know, like there's the nostalgia kick, sure, but like it was silly. You know, it was kind of dumb. Actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away because I want to see this. I'll just put that out there. However, I'm trying to stay away from. This is one of those movies I don't want to know anything about it. I just want to dive in and watch the movie.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get that with Ghostbusters, but I've just been so excited. Like, who are they getting? Who are they getting? Who's actually coming back for the film? And blah, 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 blah. That I learned a little bit more than I kind of wanted to, but I'm more or less staying away. This one, it's already been ruined for me. But basically the plot is they have to get back together with their daughters, which is kind of cool, to save the universe once again. You know, have lots of just stupid adventures through time travel.
Is it weird that neither of them look like they've really aged longer than like 10 years?
I mean, Alex has, you know, he's got the crow's feet. He definitely looks a lot older. Keanu, aside from the gray strands, he's kind of ageless.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
that's a joke.
You can see he's got a little bit of aging from now. If I put up a picture of him from like the Matrix to like, or the original Bill and Ted's to now, yeah, of course you can tell he's aged. But it's been such an elegant process. He's more or less become, you know, somewhat ageless. He's a cool dude. He's a really down to earth guy, and you know he can still act. I fucking love John Wick. Oh my god, it's so good.
I call it let the kid.
The effort he pulls, puts into his roles. Sorry, what were you saying?
It's a mangled version of let the bodies hit the floor, let the kitties hit the floor, because that's basically it. Everyone just dies.
Well, speaking of everyone just dying, The King's Man, which is the third in the Kingsman series. I love the Kingsman series. It was a really great adaptation of the book, the graphic novels, which I read, but also a just fresh play on, you know, modern spy takes and secret organizations, and really great acting from Ralph Fiennes, Liam Neeson, Matthew Vaughn, great director. Still made one of my favorite X-Men movies, X-Men First Class. It had, in the second one, it had fucking Elton John play such an amazing role. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting there too. I'm getting a little stiff. We're almost at the end though. So I'm really super excited, even though it's a prequel. It's kind of cool. Like, I really kind of want to see the historical how Kingsman became Kingsman. So it'll be cool. New Halloween movie called The Witches. Whatever. It's based on a Roald Dahl book. The Eternals, another. This is one of the new Phase 4 MCU properties. Kind of really don't care. I'll watch it when it comes out. Kind of don't care. Yeah. Dune. Oh my god, this one actually kind of gets me hard. What?
Sorry, it was just the way you said that.
Phrasing. Boom.
I'm like, there's this worm, and I'm just like, wow, really?
It's a good book.
Yeah, it was a great book. There's been some, you know, contentions on all sides about the the movie series, made for TV movie series, and the
I didn't mind the
one.
sci-fi one. It was pretty decent.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people really like. Maybe it's just my nostalgia. I really love the original, long, like 3.5 hour version.
Yeah.
But I also really liked the remake, which was really good. And with who they have already signed on for this, really has me a little bit more excited than not. So we have director Denis Villeneuve, who did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. I respect his work in both of those. We're way over time, so I'm just gonna brush past that. The cast looks pretty great. Timothy Chalamet, who plays Paul Atreides, Oscar Isaac, who I fucking hate Poe, but he's an amazing actor as Duke Leto, Rebecca Ferguson, Stellan Skarsgård, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista, again, another person who came from wrestling, who I will watch any movie he's in, no matter how bad he is. And this is going to come out late in 2020 in December, so it's a bit of a wait, but I'm super excited. Maybe you'll be a little bit more up on this. I don't know how you are. Useless on Uncharted. So they're adapting that to the screen. Never played it myself. Just kind of struck me as a male Lara Croft.
It kind of is. It's a fun game, though.
Okay. I can respect that. I just haven't gotten around to it. I just never got around to playing the game. Maybe, you know what? I'll have to add this to my list of things to watch. I'll do that later. So Mark Wahlberg will be in the movie. He's going to be playing Sully, his sidekick. I like Mark Wahlberg. I think he's a pretty funny actor. But yeah, that's the end.
Yay!
I'm really sorry for going so over today. I guess we just had, and there's still news stuff that we didn't cover, but it was, less important. And I much more appreciated having some chit chat time with Irate Prostate and Useless Rebel / Useless Rebellious Cook.
Yes.
So if you want to quickly link your channel in the chat, I haven't. Excuse me. I haven't. You're somewhat of a new face for me outside of Minions.
Yeah.
Because I see you on there a lot, and I always appreciate your contribution to Minions. I'm going to admit I haven't seen any of your cooking stuff yet. It's been on my to watch stuff because I'm a retired chef. I love cooking, and when I'm at home, you kind of get into your own little bubble of this is what I normally do. So
I understand.
Keep cooking. So to see other people's, to see some Satsu stuff, I've been getting into some of the bigger guys like Binging with Babish. That's more of a frilly kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just want to see what other people are doing to sort of influence my own cooking, try some other people's recipes. So
my content's a bit different because I keep it short and straight to the point. It's like most of my videos are like 2 minutes long. So
that's really good. That's really good. You could just get, pardon the pun, but a little bite of content and maybe get some inspiration. That's really cool. That's really cool.
And tomorrow, a video's coming out, Instapot Carnitas. It'll be tomorrow at 10 a.m. So,
you know what? I was going to make Mexican food. Maybe I'll do some carnitas instead.
Yeah, because those are good.
In the style of, obviously it's Mexican. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'm fucking tripping over my bullshit. So yeah, check that out. Check out Useless on, what else do you do? Useless? Minions?
Not much. I just do all the Minions and hang out.
Yeah.
On my cooking channel.
I
try to do some gaming streams, but I'm not very big on streaming my games.
We'll have a talk later and maybe do some more of those.
Yeah.
Of course, our next show is going to be Tuesday, and that's going to be on Jen's channel, the Snow Mexicans. The channel's in the both in the description and in the chat. Check us out there. Don't know who we're going to be having on. It's kind of like, and sorry, Bloodwing, I'm stealing this from you for a moment. A box of chocolates. We never know who we're going to get. Maybe we'll get a nice Belgian chocolate. Sometimes we'll get some some brash American dark chocolate. You never know. And then, of course, on Thursday again. And yeah, I've been playing around a little bit more with game streaming in future. I've been doing it, of course, because Christmas, a lot of people wind down their stuff. So in the near future, though, Jen and I are going to be doing something. We'll post that and shill that when it comes to fruition.
I had an idea about that, so I'm just going to cover that real quick before we shut down, and then I'm good to go. But this idea for Stardew is so you told me that you and Elwin will be starting off new, like you'll be like starting off learning, and I thought it'd be funny if we play it off as like you're starting off learning, and I'm going to teach you how to play it horribly.
Oh God, like intentionally fucking with us.
What? Oh no!
Well, there is a Battle Royale mod for it too.
Yeah, but I mean, I played it when it first came out, and they've done so much to add to it. I wanted to at least, if I do get back into it, experience it, the vanilla game first, and see what all is different, and then I'll mod the fuck out of it because I play a lot of like Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and I'll dump in like 200 mods just to like, keep it fresh, keep it interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, everybody have a great night. Have a great rest of your weekend. From our guest, the useless rebellious cook, say goodbye.
Yep, everybody have fun.
And my magnanimous co-host, Jen. We've been the Snow Mexicans, and have a great, great, great evening.
Fuck it up!
Play us out with theme music.
Don't give a shit anymore. Fuck it